Tell you what, if people listen to this and enough people are if they've made it to this part of the interview, and, you just leave it in the comments. Like, I want a night meat channel that's super close-ups of your mouth eating meat in the night for like 30 minutes at a time. I will do it. I will do it.
I just want you to know that what you just said is going to be the intro of the whole thing. Definitely, like, just to get people.
Get them in the door. We're talking humanity. We're talking government. We're talking medicine. We're talking social isolation. We got big issues. But the headliner, I'm gonna eat meat in close up.
Night meat.
Night meat, baby.
Hell yeah. Hell yes. Yes. There it is.
Hey, buddy.
What's happening?
Nice to see you.
It's great to see you. I'm so happy to see you.
I truly am. I was like, sorry to like immediately jump into like the meta-analysis of my
Please, I expect nothing less. But no.
I was like thinking last night, I was like, am I nervous to do this, like to record this interview with Andrew? And then I was thinking about the main thing I was nervous about. And I was like, I hope we don't just spend the whole time being like, dude, it's so good to see you. Like, dude, bro, oh my God.
Dude, what have you been doing? Like, how's New York? Like, I miss it so much. How's life? Are you in the studio? I know, it could go on for hours, man. I hope you blocked off the day.
You're just a master of pleasant conversation.
Man, I really appreciate that. Like, I've only done a few things like this last year when I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my time other than spend my time with my instrument, and take long walks. And then I did a few videos and I was so nervous. This is not my thing, man. But, for number one, it's you, and I couldn't wait to see you. It's been way too long. Like, I know we didn't get to spend much time together in New York, and because New York is New York and we're always hustling, but man, like, it was just or we were always hustling, which we'll talk about.
Punchline.
Guess what we're talking about? Man, I just the joy, the hustle, the disappearing hustle. Who thought that would happen in New York?
The amazing disappearing, reappearing hustle.
Jesus. Well, all right. So we can talk about personal stuff for sure another time, but because I want to use your time wisely, because I'm grateful to have you.
Well, I at least want you to finish your thought.
What I want to say is, when I met you, it was immediate. It was like, I love this person. I love this person.
Thank you.
This is one of the coolest, nicest, most genuine, no bullshit, talented people. And we got to hang a little bit, and I got to see you play in your amazing band Stimmerman, which I just am crazy about, listen, I'm 44. Like, I grew up like staying up watching MTV until 10 p.m. on a Saturday night when I could see Headbangers Ball, like,
oh yeah,
that was my jam,
dude, well, first of all, we could sit around looking at each other's butts all day, but
that's a fact.
It's a true fact.
That's a true fact.
It's just a natural fact of the world. But yeah, I mean, hey, right back at you. It's just like, I feel like it's so rare in the, like, I don't know. Maybe you're just like a genuinely kind person who I feel like
I just love
yeah,
people. I think people have so much to offer us, you know, and I'm grateful, you know, my folks, they're, you know, this is like I'm here right now. This is like a, you know, a small town on the coast by the ocean, and people are in all of their each other's business, you know. I mean, I guess that's probably
yeah.
different, not different anywhere, you know. It's the same thing in a neighborhood in New York,
Oh
but
yeah.
man, you learn to like live around people who think differently from you, and you know, if you do think differently, and you learn to get along with people because they're your neighbors and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
man, that helped me when I got to New York because, you know, I was living in Crown Heights, and, you know, I was the one that looked like me walking around every day.
yeah.
And all you have to do is just be nice to people, and people are like, "Oh man, this person respects me." That's it. End of
Oh
story.
yeah. Yeah, it's true. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to like nitpick to like your, I don't know, whatever. Like this is an obvious distinction like to everybody and it's not worth even saying, but like feel like niceness is like pretty common in New York. Like people don't want to be rude necessarily, but I feel like
True.
it's not necessarily the same as like treating somebody nice or something like that. Like when I
Right.
meet somebody like you who it's like, oh, you're gonna let me finish my sentence like before you just start like just like before whatever thought the first three words I said triggers just comes out of your mouth and you start saying it at me.
To be fair, I get really overexcited about everything, so I've had to teach myself to just relax and wait for somebody to finish.
That well, yeah, I mean, I feel like oh, you know, most musicians are like walking through the world with like, you know, some kind of ADHD that's
Oh, that's a
like
fact.
where you're just like like
At all times, fireworks.
yeah. So I was thinking this morning too. I was like, because I got up at like 9:30 and I was just like, am I gonna be able to like be processing thoughts by 10? And then by like 9:02, I was just like, every thought I have ever had, like competing, competing for front row seats on my
Yeah,
tongue.
guys, there's room for everybody. Just hold on. Amazing.
Wow.
Well, oh, I have a question.
Yeah, take me
So,
there.
I in New York when I met you, and everybody was calling you Eva. And then
Yeah.
I saw your old videos from when you were a kid, which, by the way, listen, I'm not editing this out. Anybody that doesn't know Eva Lawitts needs to go
It is Eva.
find
My name is
Eva.
Eva.
Okay, so why, when
Yeah.
you were kids,
Ava was my alter ego.
for real, yo,
I it's just I for whatever reason when I was a kid that was like
because
and
I
that
watched
was
those
enough of a
videos.
change. Like, it's like
It's
no
like you
that's
take off your top shirt and then you're
yeah.
Ava.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a
Yo,
slightly different pronunciation. Like my name, for some reason that seemed like a big enough change. Now, of course, you know, I have like you know, but I like um I've been thinking about that recently too because like I feel like because I use the Shredderella name on social media and I did even like in the olden times like on Facebook and stuff like I had a fake name on there too and like I'm sorry it's not fake it's a real name but it's but yeah like I was thinking like maybe I'm just more like could be because I for a little while like it bothered me that in real life people would call me like Shred or like
that's funny.
Shredderella
That's
and like
funny.
people like wouldn't know my real name like who I met on the street and they'd be like oh like aren't you Shredderella and and For whatever reason that bothered me, but like then I was thinking recently back to Ava's talk show, and I was like, maybe I'm just like more comfortable being somebody else. I
Oh
don't
man.
know.
Wow. Everybody's comfortable with you for whoever you want to be called, but but for people that want to find you because this is crucial to the
Yeah,
story that we're going to be talking about because you have been a performer since you were like the littlest of littles.
I guess so. Yeah,
That's what I
I
gather.
I
Like you grew
think
up in New York and here you are a little kid and you're actually making videos, Ava's talk show.
Ava's talk
Now I
show.
know it's your alter ego as a
Yeah.
child. So anybody that hasn't seen Ava's talk show, do yourself a solid and look up Ava's talk show. I'm sure they can find it through your Instagram.
Yeah, and or I think you can also find all the episodes on YouTube. They're on a channel called Reelsms, which is the word real, RealZms,
Of course.
Reelsms. Yep, and there's not that many up there relative to how many there are, because there's like 30 episodes of Ava's talk
I think you're doing
show.
the world a disservice by keeping them offline.
I know. I really gotta, well, yeah, they need to be uploaded. They're all like, they all need to be transferred from like a mini,
Yeah.
what were those tapes called? Mini,
Uh, I think they were just not many discs. I don't remember, but I remember them. I remember the little tapes. Yeah.
yeah. They're tiny, they're real tapes. They're tiny little tapes. And those
Right.
were mostly all done with like in-camera edits. I went back with my older brother and we added like some modern elements, like we added some sound effects and stuff to some of
Oh,
them just to
I
like
know.
just to increase the insanity. But like, yeah, those were mostly like the edits were made by like, you'd film something crazy and then you would rewind the tape so that like as soon as the craziest possible thing ended, you would just be recording again. So just to make these like totally jarring, like psychotic edits.
That's the thing, man. They're actually really intelligently done. You know, was it you and your brother?
It was me and my two older brothers.
Both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah. Or I
It
mean, not every time, but yeah,
it
most of the
is
time.
wild.
Yeah, I know
Yo,
I know.
wild.
I used to get mad at, like, I mean, not like as an adult, but like in like middle school, I would get mad at like people would watch. I didn't have cable as a kid, but like when people would talk about stuff that was on like Comedy Central or like Adult Swim, I'd be like, I did that. I did that first.
It's true.
I'd be like,
It's
how did
true.
they it's like,
How
how
did
did
they
Tim and
get into
Eric get
my
that
brain and
idea?
steal
I did
me?
that.
Man,
Yeah.
but that's the thing I thought about when I saw it. I was like, first of all, like, how is Ava as a kid coming up with this wild shit? Like wild.
I
I
mean,
mean, that is like peering into your brain in a place that many people don't get to see.
oh yeah, I mean, I feel like people who are, because you know, most people who I'm like close friends with as an adult, I feel like I have some friends from childhood and college, of course, but like close friends that I have now that aren't that, I feel like are friends I made like around the year like 2016, 2017. And then it just never came up, like Ava's talk show. Like they're like, even when I was making friends in like college, I would occasionally, because I quit drinking when I was like 21.
Okay.
But like in college, like there, maybe if I had a couple drinks, I'd be like, you guys want to see some of this? And then I feel like, but people would be like, I feel like I would hear through the grapevine is like, oh, like I was hanging out with Eva. The people would be like, oh, like did she make you watch those like weird videos of like her eating butter? And like, and I'd be like,
She
all right,
make you.
maybe people are not interested.
I don't
Like,
know.
like no, like
I disagree wholeheartly, and
yeah.
I'm gonna keep fighting for the whole series. That's all
I
I'm
think
saying.
I think those people were the wrong friends, but then but like as an adult, like I was just like, I started just putting them on the internet, and like friends that I had made like more recently would be like you, like they were just more astounded, like, oh, you've always just been
No, this is you.
exactly the
Hmm.
person you are now. Like
Hmm.
there's no character development, especially like, no, I didn't even really make this connection, but like pre-pandemic there was like a Stimmerman music video for one of the songs off my album
I
Goofballs, and
remember
like
that. Yeah.
it was like heavily focused on like food horror, like overeating, and like overeating as a symbol of like excess, and like super close-ups on the mouth and the teeth,
Yep, I
and
remember it quite well. Yeah.
like everybody was just like, like when they saw Eva's talk show, they're just like, this is exactly the same. Like it's just it's just you getting too excited and like showing your teeth and eating a stick of butter and like having a hypomanic breakdown. Like
I mean, this is what makes you like one of the most interesting people ever in my
yeah.
mind, you know. And maybe I need like more
I
exciting
try.
friends, but I sorry guys, but I but truly like immediately I was like, you know, when I met you, I was like, oh, this person isn't normal, and that makes me so happy. This is the normal I want to be around.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Well, I definitely, yeah, I don't feel like I have to, there's no reason to not say whatever I want to say.
That's it. Yeah, man.
It's how I
Well,
hope we can all make each other feel.
no, man, but really, that's the way it should be. Like, I feel like, for better or worse, I self-edit myself all day long, you
Yeah,
know,
me too, you know, very
just to
much me
like
too.
get through the day with other people.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that comes from experience.
Yeah, because you learn that it goes south pretty quickly otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, and like people are just like, I don't know. As in, I'm sure maybe you're, well, I'm not sure, but I assume you're sort of the same way because you pay close attention to people when they talk. But like, I try to pay close attention to people when they talk, and I pay close attention to people when I'm talking as well. And like, you can just see, like, when you're talking, sometimes people are just like, like, it starts with like,
Or you,
oh, like I'm not so sure about this, and then they just start like totally zoning out while you're talking, and then
100%, 100%.
you don't know
Never
what I'm talking
mind.
about. Never, just
We're
forget it.
good. Moving on. Yeah, it starts with that like curl in their eye. Like, what is happening right now? What did she say?
Yeah,
What did he say?
yeah. Yeah. They need to be like, so did you watch Squid Game?
Oh God. Yeah, I heard about
Yeah.
this. I don't know what it is yet, but yeah, it's all good.
Or just whatever
100%. Yeah,
whatever
whatever's the
television show
relevant.
is being memeified at that moment.
Amen. Yeah. Oh, the internet. There's another conversation. Thank you.
Dude, I have very mixed feelings about the internet right now. I'm like,
Are you feeling burned out on the internet? Because I am so over it right now. I'm
yeah,
even thinking like if this costs me any like further career in anything, I'm okay with it because where I'm at
yeah,
right now.
yeah. I mean, I think the whole thing of like, I'm for anyone who happens to be listening to this who doesn't know me, I feel like everyone who knows me that knows this goes without saying, but I am like deeply addicted to the internet. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I'm like very disciplined about my health and my diet, but I am addicted to I'm like I have a very hard time not going on.
Fully
I mean,
aware.
yeah, like yeah, I know everyone's like, I'm addicted to Instagram, but I'm like, I feel like I have
All of it.
serious, like I should go to group. You know what I mean? Like talk it out. Like but
Like
yeah,
I spent 2 hours on the dark web today,
yeah.
you know.
I feel like I'm always that person where someone's like, "Oh my God, did you see them?" Like, yeah, I saw it 2 weeks ago. I don't know.
You mean the thing I started? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like that thing where I'm like, oh, like well, I feel like most artists are like like a little tweaky somewhere in their mind, but I also like I have an extremely hard time getting anything done if I'm not surrounded by noise. Like So I mean, I have my phone on all the time because like
But I
if
think
I
that's because you grew up in New York. You think that's part of it?
I think that could be part of it. Yeah. I mean, like it's very hard to parse out like what is an inevitable part of your brain and what's part of your upbringing
100%.
because there are times when I'm like, oh, like I really can't focus without a lot of background noise. And like maybe that's just the way my brain is. But then sometimes I'm like, maybe if I maybe if I just didn't watch like 10 hours of media a day, I wouldn't be like that. But I've never not done that. So it's like a pretty,
Amazing.
I don't know which, what came first, the chicken or the, but yeah, the internet, like, I'm sure eventually we're gonna get into the more of this, right? But like, yeah, like, just like at the current moment for me, like, being on the like me trying to communicate through the internet
Hmm.
is bad for me. Like it's objectively tanking my mental health. But
Oh, I
then,
see. For
yeah,
mental health. Yeah.
yeah, no, and also like I know that like there are people in my life who are like actively like I don't want to say losing respect for me, but like I can tell that they think that my perspective is like okay, like it's really not that bad. But then on the other hand, like I can't like there's literally no other way for me to socialize unless I'm gonna do like unless I'm gonna like I mean there's no way with for me. I mean I've lived in New York my whole life, right? I've been like you said, like a performer my whole life.
Right.
I'm very socialized to crowded areas and to
Uh-huh.
crowds and stuff. And
Right.
like and there's no way for me to interact with that really without being on the internet at the moment.
At
Like
the moment, yeah.
unless I'm gonna be like, do 40 people want to meet up with me at the park? Hey guys, I'm looking to hang out with 40 people. Like
Well, listen, that actually, so that gets us into the heart of, yeah, that's amazing. Like, guys,
yeah.
like, just I need 40 people,
Yeah.
park, 11 a.m. Yeah, but maybe we should go for two.
I need to do my tight five. So if 40 people could just show up to the park
Yo,
and
but
let me do
that gets us into like what's going on for you right now, which is really important, because I could do this all day, like literally, especially since we're all stuck inside and like
yeah.
I get to talk to you. So this is great. But this is really important to talk about.
I'm having fun.
Man, I know, I know. Well, we'll come back to that. But
Yeah.
you, so you grew up in New York, you're a musician, you had a recording studio. Is the recording studio thing done for you at the moment?
um, I mean, I'm not sure I would phrase it exactly like that, but like,
Forgive me, I
yeah,
didn't
so
mean done, but I mean, is it on pause?
yeah, kind of like we have like my friend Carlos uh and his like studio partner Julie, and they have they go by Gravesend Recordings, and they work out of a studio called the Honey Jar. And so they were nice enough to let us use their studio like on and off, but it's already like it's somebody else's studio and they
Right,
have a
of
full
course.
calendar, so it's like we don't have that much time in there. And we're kind of looking, we're like a little bit looking for a new studio, but it's very hard to go full force on it because, as you
Right.
know, securing a commercial lease in New York City is extremely expensive. Like it's going to be like always going to be a five-figure number, and usually a high five-figure number, like not high five figures, but like 20 to 50,000,
Right.
because commercial leases can be like, they even $5,000 $10,000 a month. Like, and that was the problem with our old place. The rent was $5,000 a month. So 1 month into the pandemic, we were just like, okay, like bye.
Right.
um, landlord wouldn't cut us a break. But yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit on pause right now. If the right situation came along, I would take it. But I mean, I'll just sum up the situation for
Yeah,
anyone
please. I want to get into
who's
that
wondering
because
why
that's important. Yeah.
we're like kind of dancing. I'm like, well, you know what's going on with me, Andrew.
Right.
Like, but yeah, I mean, so basically the long and short of it is that New York City has a vaccine mandate, right? The COVID-19 vaccine. And the mandate basically stipulates that anything in New York that can be categorized as dining, entertainment, or fitness, which is most things in New York, um, you need to be fully vaccinated to work there, and you need to be fully vaccinated to be a patron as well. So you need to be fully vaccinated to go in at all, whether
To
you're
do
working
anything.
or
Yeah.
yeah, to do anything. And I think a lot of people think that's a good thing. Here's where it gets a little ricey dicey, is that I according to my doctor and at least one second opinion, can't take the vaccine because of which
I
I'm happy to
lost you for
talk
a
about it
second.
less
So
too,
you
because
got
it's
a
a
second
widely
opinion.
misunderstood one. Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Oh
I
yeah,
lost you
yeah.
for a
So
second.
can't. That's okay. That's okay. But oh no,
In the big
it's
reveal.
the yeah, I know. Oh my God, Zoom makes me so nervous sometimes. It's like it's really just like at the whim of the gods.
Really,
Like,
right?
yeah, and every time somebody's like listening intently, I'm like, oh my God, are they gone forever? Um, anyway, I can't get the vaccine because of uh you could say it's because of one chronic illness, but I have like several chronic illnesses. Happy
Jeez.
to talk about them more, but like but yeah, so I can't. There's a vaccine I hypothetically could take, but they keep pushing the production back. Like I think my doctor told me like in January, she was like, it's possible for you, but like you'd have to wait for this one, but don't worry, it'll be out soon. But it keeps just like not being ready. It's the Novavax one, or they call
Okay.
it
So
Covax sometimes.
there's something different about that vaccine that allows you to take it. It won't harm you.
Well, I think there's like a much lower chance that it would harm me. But I mean, so we can get into all the like details about like why it's a bad idea for me. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. Everybody from the beginning of COVID, right? Pretty much. I I feel like a part of the conversation was there's always going to be a subset of the population that can't get
Sure.
vaccinated. Like, and at one time, I'm pretty sure that the number that the city was estimating was like 5% of adults, you know. And I can't remember if that really is because the amount of people who don't have what we think of as being like vaccines that everybody gets in New
Right.
York, right? Like the MMR and all those, like
Right.
the percentage of unvaccinated people in New York is like between 7 and 10% usually, right?
Okay.
Like
And
so
beyond what we're going through now, just in general.
in general, yeah, like
Right.
like you think about everybody as having like you know, measles, mumps, rubella,
Right.
hepatitis, chickenpox, all
Right.
those things, right? Shingles and shit, but like it's actually a pretty huge subsection of the population either can't or just won't get
Right.
even those.
Right.
And maybe the city was working off of those numbers. I don't know, but like it was all I mentioned that because I feel like now everybody is like surprised that anybody is unvaccinated, but it's like I feel like that was definitely a part of the rhetoric
Right.
early on. Was like at first it was like at first people seem to be really cognizant of it. Like there's always going to be people who are unvaccinated. And then it was
Right.
like, you should get vaccinated for the people who can't get
Right.
vaccinated. And then
Right.
somehow over the summer, it sort of like morphed into like, oh, you can't get vaccinated? Well, you just go fuck yourself. I don't know what to,
100%.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. So, I mean, like, anyway, to sum it up, I'm just kind of rambling now because everyone soak in all my latent anger. But like, yeah, I mean, I can't go inside there's no medical exemption in the mandate.
Which means no work
Like
for you.
there's no work. Yeah. I mean, I play music for a living, so I mean, I definitely can't do that job anymore. I can't really teach. I can't get an entry level job because I can't be like a busboy. I can't be in a service job. I can't, I can't anything that's entertainment, and like the things that are categorized as entertainment are pretty broad. Like,
Right.
you know, it's like
And
most things.
the thing that I want to say is, I'm sure anybody listening to this or watching this, whether they know you or not, I just want to be careful that people don't get in their head, well, she said that there may be a vaccine that's coming out at some point, so I'm sure, Eva will be fine once they get the vaccine. That's, no
Yeah.
idea when that's coming, if it's
Yeah.
coming, and that's really kind of beside the point.
Like for people with chronic illness, right? And I've also been like very vocal about, I mean, I happen to know like lots of people who are in my exact situation. I feel like I'm the only person I know who's like on a regular basis and like trying to just give another perspective on the issue. But like
Right.
that, I do get that a lot, that people are like, well, I like the mandate because it works for most people. This is one really specific case where it's not working for one person who's at the intersection of all these different things. But like, it's just not true. There are a lot of
Right.
people that this affects. And I mean, I think it's also just, it's not just people with chronic illnesses. I pretty firmly believe it's also like a class issue, at least in New York City. And I
Sure.
think people, because of the way that and I'm happy to talk more about that too, but like, I think just because of the way we communicate the rhetoric around getting vaccinated, which is largely through the internet, right? Most
Right.
people are
Which is what we
getting,
have right now.
giving and getting their opinions on this stuff through the internet. Like the rhetoric has largely been like, either you are vaccinated or you are a card carrying MAGA conspiracy theorist and an idiot and a
Right.
racist.
Right.
Like, it's just
Right.
like,
That's
which
it.
is just
One or one.
really
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of like being on the internet is just going horribly for me. Like I was like browsing around last night and like I saw some like tweet that's making the rounds that's like, yes, finally this mandate is getting like people are leaving the workforce, like teachers who don't believe in science and nurses who don't believe in medicine. Yes, finally they're losing their jobs. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
it's really, first of all, like that is some great, like people don't have the self-awareness to realize what they're celebrating on with shit like that sometimes. Or I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay, like maybe the way you're framing that in your mind is like, this person thinks that all medicine is poison, and they're like, and by association though, they're like a creationist or like,
Right.
and
No,
they're
I think it's very
brainwashing
natural,
your
and
kid.
I
Like,
think it's very natural and easy to simplify somebody that you don't know.
oh yeah, of course it is. Like, and I think like especially when the messaging is so reductive and you're consuming it all the time,
Hmm.
it's very easy to like kind of, that's, I mean, at least at first, like with being on social media about that was like kind of my one mission, was just like to get people to realize that like, quote unquote, the unvaccinated is a totally useless category. because it's and not to toot my own horn, but a pretty high percentage of people that I speak with have like thanked me for that like discussion or that conversation, because they were like, oh yeah, I would have never thought of it that way. Like, and I think that's true for most people, and that's why they're okay with mandating a large section of the population out of the workforce. And I don't mean to be like, I'm not trying to be like purposefully evasive by using a word like large. I think right now the city, I'm not totally sure what the vaccination percentage is, but it's high. It's like the percentage of adults, I think, is approaching 80, maybe. It's a high number, but like I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were saying like, I think 5%, is too high for people who need a medical exemption, which is like, okay, like I'm basing that on old data, but you're basing that on no data. So, it's like, I just think it's too high.
Well, this seems right. Just pull this out of my pocket.
Like, I don't know, all those memes I saw said it wasn't a lot of people, so
I read on Facebook that this is
but anyway, but the point I was like, the thing I'm getting to, I guess, with that is just like, like even if it's 1%, like even if it's 0.5%, if it's
a lot of
half
people.
a percent in New York City, it's like 50,000 people is like it's not.
I mean, that's basically like
1,000 people, like
that's like saying like I don't care about 50,000 people, and if they end up on the street, that's their choice.
Oh yeah, totally. And like, and oh my God, now I'm just venting. Like, but like, when people say stuff to me too, like I say this because I like, yeah, the direction that you're taking in, right? Like, oh, like, well, it's not that bad because eventually there will be a vaccine you can take, and like, but I like, just to be clear, like, there's no unemployment. There's no expansion of unemployment for people who can't get the vaccine. There's no expansion of disability. It's illegal to employ me right now. Like, I just want to like drive that home. Like, I've had cases where, whether it's like speaking with a venue or like just going for a job interview, where like these people who are my employers have told me like, yeah, just go get a fake vaccine card and come back, which by the way is being prosecuted as a felony. It's felony fraud. So it's like, that's why I'm always a little insulted by that. It's like, dude, I'm already totally disenfranchised by this. Like, don't encourage me to commit a felony. Like, they're definitely prosecuting those.
Yeah.
They're 100% prosecuting those as felonies. But yeah, I mean, there's like what am I supposed
So there's
to do?
absolutely
like,
no system in place at this time to help somebody in your situation that for health reasons cannot get the vaccine.
Yeah, or even if your doctor thinks like you should just wait, because to be totally transparent, like the issues that I have, like it's possible to get them under control enough where I could maybe take one of the existing vaccines, but like not in my current parent. Like, the reason I feel comfortable talking about this stuff is because like financially I'm not going to end up on the street. Like, my parents live in New York City.
Right.
And I think like a worst case scenario would be like, I got to pack it all in and just move in with them, which is like fine. I mean, it's not like,
it's not ideal, but
it's not ideal. Like, I don't think that should be like considered like just some inevitability.
Right.
And the reason I feel compelled to talk about this is because I know a lot of people, both from my professional life as a musician and in my like support groups, who feel like, I mean, they're definitely not that lucky and privileged to be like, oh, I have family who lives in the same city as me that I can just move in with. Like, they don't have choices.
That's right.
and they are having to choose between like, well, I could take this thing that my doctor says is definitely going to put me into anaphylactic shock, and I'm going to anaphylactic shock twice and go through that and possibly re-trigger this disease I've spent like $100,000 trying to get under control and like years of my life. I could get a fake vaccine card and risk getting caught committing a felony, or just wait until I run out of money. Like, those aren't humane choices.
No.
And the purpose of forcing people to make that choice is what exactly? Like, because the city wants to compel people who otherwise wouldn't want to get the vaccine to get it. And the reason I think this is a class issue, and like I think the reason people aren't willing to see it as a class issue is because they have been digesting this information that like that people who aren't vaccinated are their political enemies.
That's right.
And that's just the way it is, and their political enemies deserve whatever's coming to them.
That's right.
But I mean, if you look at the vaccination rates in New York City, it's like objectively the poorest neighborhoods are the least vaccinated, and the wealthiest neighborhoods, with the exception of Elmhurst.
Really?
Well, yeah, like the Elmhurst Jackson Heights area, I think, has some of the highest. Well, because they got smackaroonied by the virus.
Wow,
I mean,
I didn't
that
know
was
that.
like they were the first area to get like totally devastated by it. And it was the whole thing at the beginning was that Elmhurst Hospital was like overflowing.
Wow.
But and by the way, like, I know I have to say this now, but like, I think COVID is real. Disclaimer. I always have to remind people. I'm like, dude, I'm a person with many chronic illnesses who can't get vaccinated. Like, you think I'm not scared? Like, you think I'm not scared? Like, now I have to worry about not being able to make money on top of this. But I feel like people are not, like, they don't understand. A lot of my peers, at least too, were on unemployment for most of the pandemic, including the period where everyone was getting vaccinated. So like they were like doing okay.
Yeah.
Like financially, like they were able to sustain their lives, and they had a shitload of free time. Yeah. And I feel like it hasn't occurred to a lot of people that like that's not what the pandemic was like for everybody. Like there were still people who work 7 days a week and like need to have like New York City, in fact, has lots of people who need to work 7 days a week, and they work in jobs that don't have any paid time off, don't have any sick days. They work multiple jobs, like 2 or 3 jobs, right? And because they're working more than full time, but it's at separate jobs, they don't really have rights. And I never had this conversation with people before who are like, well, it's not really a class issue because the city told employers they have to give their employees 8 hours off to get vaccinated. And also the city gives you $100 bonus. But I just want to remind people that that is a delusional station, because I worked a shit job in New York. First of all, you know that like slumlord employers don't follow city rules. Like
100%.
Just because the city says like, oh, you have to do this, they're not. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you've ever worked a service job, you know, you've just been like, where your employer's just like, yeah, sorry, like I'm just like, whatever you think your rights are, just come back tomorrow. Just come back tomorrow and beg for the money. I don't know what else to tell you.
100%. Yeah.
But even assuming even that they do follow those rules and they give you 8 hours paid time off, I don't even think 8 hours is enough time to get both doses, honestly. No. Like it's really not. Like, and even if it was, it's not enough time to recover. Like, that's
what I was going to say. Yeah.
Most people that I know who got the vaccine,
it knocks you out for days. Some people,
at least 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, and like some I don't know if everybody knows this. It seems like some people I speak to really don't know this, but like 2 days of employment can make or break your life sometimes. Like it
I mean, that's the
really
thing. Like,
can.
I don't know, I don't know if anybody outside of New York City will watch this. I hope so. But, the thing that you have to understand, and that was, a shock for me, like even coming from Boston and then moving to New York, is you can't stop working.
You can't
You
stop
stop,
working.
you stop working, you don't pay your rent, you got no place to live, you got no food to eat. I mean, you don't have choices. Like when we're doing things, we're working for ourselves or even just working, I had to have two jobs while I was trying to get music happening. And many people I know do that for the whole time they're in New York. Like you just can't
Yeah.
stop if you want to be there.
No. You can't there's no such thing as like it,
Mm-mm.
yeah. And that's like obviously like unless you're like you totally have the blinders of wealth on, like that's obviously true in New York. Like
That's right.
and it's also like categorically true that there's a huge subsection of the population that has no health care.
That's right.
And I think people are so ready to just be punitive about this. But it's
Hmm.
just like, look, if you can't stop working, you don't have access to a doctor. You don't have housing, food, job security, none of that. You can't get any reliable information. Like even if you could make the choice about whether or not it was financially safe for you to get the vaccine,
Right.
you don't like you don't have any trusted professional you could speak with.
That's
And
right.
also, by the way, like I have enough, like I have a reasonable amount of financial security and I pay out of pocket to go see a doctor that I trust, but like I like need to see multiple doctors a month and I can't find I have not up to this point been able to find anybody I can trust who takes my insurance, and I have
Right.
insurance. Like
Right.
there's like people also don't
Yeah.
understand like when you have health problems, you really begin to understand how like woefully incompetent many doctors are and how also how I don't want to be totally cruel, like how overworked they are. Like they can't see
100%. Yep.
you for more than 15 minutes
That's
and
right.
they can't tell you they can't give you information that is outside of what like your insurance allows.
Right.
That's something I've learned is like if a doctor can't treat you under your insurance, then they basically just tell you like, you're fine. It's like just get out of here.
But I think most people don't understand that, and I will say
Yeah.
because, I didn't grow up in the city, that is amplified many times over in the
Oh
city.
yeah.
I remember having, state insurance. I'm working two jobs and it still wasn't enough to have better insurance and trying to find a doctor under my insurance was horrifying, like
Yeah.
literal horrifying experience. And I don't say that lightly. Like I've been to doctors in other countries where, we consider those other countries, um, whatever third world or whatever you want to say. And I had a worse experience by far in New York City. Like I
Oh
was
yeah.
horrified.
People have been telling like people who are sympathetic to my condition were just like, look, just move to Mexico City.
Great. You'll
They're
get
just like,
great care.
I know my Spanish is atrocious though. So I got to work on that a little bit because
Yo, you would work so hard. And no, I mean, we're not talking about relocating you. That's not the answer
yeah,
to this issue.
it's not the answer. It's not the answer to like, yeah,
But
I
you'd
just
work a
like,
lot. I'm just saying. And
yeah.
the food. It's the
I
best.
know, I know it. I've never
No.
been, but it's like it's just high on my list.
Yeah, you'd get on. It's a really special place. But man, you know, part of the reason for me wanting to talk to you about this, first of all, is just so people, hopefully, even if they don't get the full way through, I'm going to do a shorter edit so we can kind of just get the basic information as well, and then
Yeah.
the whole thing. But I hope that it changes people thinking. And I'm saying that as somebody who was, because I'm isolated right now, and I'm living in a more conservative area, I was starting to buy into the feeding of this is a political issue.
Yeah.
And so
I
the
mean, it
things
is a
that
political issue.
right, well, it certainly is, but they're using us as we're being used as
Yeah.
pawns, right? So,
Yeah.
but the point is I thought it was black and white, like you
No.
get it and you can be a part of society. You don't get it, you can't be a part of society. And I'm so unbelievably grateful that you were putting and are still putting the information up on Instagram that you are. And I know that must take a lot of energy. It's exhausting, I assume, to have to talk about your experience over and over and over and over again. But I just want you to know, and as you said, other people have told you, that for me, it made a huge difference.
I'm
And
very happy to hear it.
it was really important.
I'm very relieved when people tell me stuff like that. I mean, honestly, like I can't hear it enough because like it's like I mean, on the one hand, sometimes it just feels futile. And I also it's very hard on the internet to know whether you're like
Hmm.
if people don't directly respond to me, I'm just like, oh, I just look insane. Everyone just everyone just thinks I'm insane and that I'm like having a mental breakdown, which I mean to some degree I probably am, but but the harder part of it and the reason why I need that kind of validation, I feel like, is because I also get uh comments in the other direction and from
Sure.
like people who I know, like there are plenty of people who like I know who I would consider at least like peers or colleagues, like people who know me in real life who have been like, "Ah, I think you're exaggerating," or like, after all this, after all the like information I put out there, like people will like try to fact check me, or they'll like go on and like look up various like diseases that I have and be like, well, I Googled it and it says you can get vaccinated. So I think you're probably exaggerating.
Unfortunately, that's our society today, is everybody thinks that, they know by doing a quick Google search.
I know, and I just feel like, okay, so here's the thing too. I feel like I don't mean to be like, "Ugh, Americans," like when
No,
I'm
it's
like
it's
obviously
unfortunately true. Yeah,
I'm
I am
like
as well. But
deeply very much in like there's obviously I'm American. Like,
right.
but like I just think and in this interaction, I'm guilty of it too, but like I just think that we have this culture. People who are like on the left in America think that they're like so far beyond the desire to be punitive, right? Because they're
That's right.
largely like about like in favor of prison and police abolition. I
Sure.
mean, like, oh, I don't believe it. But like on a personal level, we love being punitive and we love saying like, you're wrong, fuck you. And like
Hmm.
I feel that way too, because when people are like, I Googled your shit and you're making it up, my first my like not even first my first action is to be like, fuck you, I'm done with you. Like you are banished from my world. Like you're not allowed here anymore. Like I'm not working with you. Like, I'm
Amazing.
not
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah, we all
Like,
do
and
it.
I'm telling everyone you're a shithead. And it's like and it's just like I just keep having to check myself on that and being like, yo, like this is just a cult. Like I think this is just a cultural thing where it's just like if you're not on board with my worldview, you're going to my mental prison. Like
Yeah, it is very much a cultural thing in this country. You see certain aspects of that in other countries in my limited experience. But but it's very much an American thing. And I would say like the American culture is a cult of its own. It's a
Yeah.
cult culture, and it's me against the world, and I have all the information, and hold on. Oh yeah, you're wrong. You're
Yeah.
wrong. You're always going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
like, dude,
side with those people, but I know better.
I'm like I'm in shock when people do that because like it's true. Like if you can Google any disease I have and find at least one opinion that's like, yeah, you should get vaccinated for a variety of reasons. Like there are very few sources that say like it's totally safe, don't worry about it. But they will make the
They're out
argument
there. Yeah.
like they'll make the argument like, yeah, it's very possible that you'll go into anaphylactic shock,
Mm,
but like anaphylactic shock's better than COVID, which is like not necessarily true.
mm,
Like it's very much case by case. And it's like, I just can't believe these people. It's like, dude, I see multiple doctors. They look at my blood, they look at my piss, they look at like, they take, like, they're looking inside my body with like sonogram technology. I go to
right.
support groups that are full of people in my exact situation.
Right.
And like the arrogance of people who like Google it and are like,
I think it's
like,
really unfortunate because
whew,
in
like,
this time period, we're also unbelievably isolated already.
oh
And
yeah.
then you put something like this where you feel like, and it's good that you have support groups, but everybody is still in their own home, speaking to each other through a computer or a
Oh yeah.
phone. And so you have isolation on top of isolation,
Oh yeah.
and you're feeling isolation from people who are your peers and who know you personally, who
That's
can't
the
stop and say like, I don't have this, I don't live this person, I don't live Eva's life,
yeah.
I don't live her experience, I don't know what she goes through, I don't go to her doctors, they're not
Yeah.
looking at my blood, like, so
Yeah, yeah,
to just
yeah. Like
flippantly say like, oh well, I looked it up and I think you might be mistaken is
yeah.
wild.
It's and it's more people than you would think. Like
Yeah, that breaks my heart.
and people too will be like, "Well, I wasn't sure I should say anything." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, definitely say something." Like like because then like in my mind I'm like, "Okay,
Amazing.
like I can assume based on that information that there are also people who are watching my shit on the internet every day and just silently Googling it and being like, no, she's wrong. See? And they're just thinking about it every time I go on the internet to talk about it. They're like, well, poor Eva, she's just mistaken.
I
Like,
right. And
why would like, and I just want to
why
make
would you
this
choose
clear,
to go through this? Yeah.
like financially, it's a disaster. Emotionally, psychologically, like I don't think people really understand what it does to your brain when you're not allowed inside anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm not allowed, and like yeah, they fucking check. Like it's not like I'm technically not allowed inside. Like I can't like I was so this is something that happened to me just a couple days ago. Like I met up with a friend. The vibe was like I was supposed to do this gig. We checked up and down, backwards and forwards. Is it going to be okay? Like, am I going to be allowed in? Everything was cool. Assurances were made. There, I was like, all right, I'm going to get my negative PCR test and then I'm going to get my rapid test same day.
Right.
Like, everything's going to be cool. And just to give context for people who are listening to this, like, I gig, right? Like,
Oh, say that again, Eva, because
like I said, like
it
it's not
froze
life or
again.
death. Oh yeah. Okay. So like just to be clear, like for context, like I need the money, right?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
it's not life or death, but like unless I'm gonna make some big life changes, like I need to make money. Like I need the money
Yeah.
from this gig. Like that's
Right.
the mental state that I'm in. So like go to the gig and like do the sound check. And this has happened to me so many times at this point that like it doesn't even uh, like I can't get upset about it anymore. Like I can't even like, I can't bring myself to like break down and like cry about it every time. But like,
Right.
so I was talking to my friend, haven't hung out in a while. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this gig. The sound check is at like 3. the set is at like 10:30. So why don't you come at like 4 and we'll hang out. So like she comes and she was like, how are you doing? And I was like kind of telling her, but then like it became this thing where like I was just because of how the day unfolded,
Yeah.
I was like, she basically saw like every part of like what my life is like, having to deal with this like crazy horse shit. And I felt like when I told her like, oh, like, yeah, the isolation is rough and I'm like really worried about money. And it's like those words only mean so much, but like it was like we met up, and then it was like I need to go find a rapid test. Even though they're abundant in New York, it's like
Wow.
we couldn't find one. So it's like then I had to go to City MD, like God bless City MD, they're trying, but like the wait time is really
Oh yeah.
long.
Yep.
So like we went to City MD and we basically spent like 2 hours just hanging out in City MD. Like that was like the fun day that we had together. Like, and then I also just want to hammer in, like, for people who don't deal with chronic illness, like, like triggering to be in a hospital setting. It's like you spend so much time in hospitals getting traumatic shit just done to you that like
Yeah.
forcing chronically ill also like that's like the number one place to get COVID is like
100%.
in the waiting room where
Mm-hmm.
everybody has COVID. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not a chill situation.
No.
Like, and so like we spent like 2 hours hanging out at City MD. And then, it's probably like 2.5 hours, honestly. It's like a pretty long time waiting, like got the negative tests, like, and I could tell she was like, man, this is like kind of rough. And then like we went to go get something to eat. And then it was like, we went back for the gig. And in the time between sound check and the gig, the Department of Health cops had come and checked everyone's
Oh.
vaccine card. And so the venue was really freaked out and they were just like, no, like you can't come in, like we're sorry, like we can't, like they were nice about it. They were like, we don't want to kick you out. Like they encouraged me again, go get a fake vaccine card and come back.
Wow.
But they were just like, we can't handle a $5,000 fine, and the
Right.
cops are around, and it's very possible that they're gonna come back tonight. So like, you can't come in. I had to like get a sub for the gig on like an hour's notice. Didn't, the band leader was nice. Also, we were headlining, which was just like
Wow.
humiliating. And the band leader was nice enough to like pay me something, but then he also had to pay the sub,
That's
obviously.
right.
So like it
Yep.
was like I spent all, and it's like, and then it was like also during the day, like my phone died, and like it died right before I got the test results,
Oh
which was
God.
so it was like I had to the when I went to the venue, I was like, can I go in and charge my phone? And they were just like, no. And it was the same thing. It's like, you can't, like, you just can't go inside. Like you can't go to a bar or a restaurant or like any place where you would normally go and be like, okay, I'm gonna like my friend is gonna drink a beer and I'm gonna charge my phone. Like you're just
Right.
like, it's just like no dogs allowed. Like you can't go inside. And I felt like my friend seeing me get turned away from like place after place, seeing me get fired on the spot, seeing me just like okay, like can you come sub for me like right now, like seeing all that, she was like mortified, and I was just like, dude, this is like the 20th time this day has happened to me. So I'm like not that like yeah, I'm devastated. Yeah, I'm like running out of money, but like
Right.
you just get used to being treated like a subhuman piece of shit, I guess.
That's awful. Sorry, I
We
keep
froze for
losing
a
you,
second
but I
there.
got you. Yep. We good?
Yeah. Yeah.
At both ends. Well, man, I'm just sorry that you're going through this. It shouldn't happen. The city should be dealing with things like this and situations like this. And it
For the record, I don't want the city to deal with my situation. I just want there to not be a mandate. Like I really don't understand why people think the mandate is good. Like I think it's probably moved the needle in terms of like coercing people into getting vaccinated, but I don't think
sure.
that's like I don't think that's necessarily good, like philosophically. But like also you go to a city like LA or like I've been to I've first of all I've traveled to other cities to work, like,
Right.
so just so people also know, like, that's like forcing unvaccinated people to get on airplanes and fly to other cities to work is also bad. Like also people who are unvaccinated, when you don't let them into crowded public places, like it's not like they just disappear. Like they don't
It's
just
true.
cease to exist.
Right.
Like they have to go in, you have to go into crowded places in New
That's right.
York. Like you're gonna go into crowded places with mostly other unvaccinated people
That's right.
to socialize.
Yep.
Like you're gonna find whatever place isn't checking, and which is a much higher, like, I don't know if people are hip if they check, but like the numbers haven't gone down since the
Right.
mandate, like at
That's right.
all. The cases and the
Right.
hospitalizations, like they're as high as they ever were. Like
Right.
more people are getting vaccinated, but like also vaccinated people are being less careful. They're
That's
going
right.
unmasked
That's
into crowded
absolutely
places. They're getting breakthrough cases. Unvaccinated people are gathering more with each other. They're all getting like, I mean, if the goal is to move us towards herd immunity through everybody getting COVID, I guess it's working, but it's definitely not bringing the cases down,
right.
you know? So if the goal was for everybody to get COVID, I guess it's working.
That's rough. Wow.
Like,
Yeah. My question to you, and I'm sorry to pose it to the person that's going through all of this, but is there any way that people can help change the situation?
I honestly, like, I've pursued it from a number of like legal perspectives or like activist perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's another thing I want people to know about me personally. I'm not just like whining about it. Like,
Right. Yeah,
I've
that's what I
tried.
know
Like,
that about you. Yeah.
I've tried. I've been to a lot of like different union meetings and like spoken with lawyers and like spoken with like, you know, like people at the Department of Justice and shit. Like, and I've really been trying to get more knowledgeable on like Title VII and like the ADA and stuff like that. And it's like the thing about the mandate is like it's perfectly legal. There's nothing illegal about it. I think honestly, the problem is in people's minds. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's really what I would want to change, is for more people to feel like they can and should talk about this and realize that it's not like science versus anti-science. It's like the mandate is bad. It's bad. It's not bringing the cases down. It's maybe coercing people into getting vaccinated in some cases, but like it's been 2 months. The cases are still high, and like it's also been 2 months of telling people who have chronic illnesses and medical exemptions, like, you're not allowed inside. Like
Right.
the psychological, well, anyway, I'm getting off topic, but like the or sort of off topic, I guess, not
No, I
really,
was going
but
to say
like
not really. No, I mean
yeah,
it's
I'm just like I was like I could feel myself just starting to like vent
I,
again, but
I
like
understand. That's okay.
you know, like I want people to understand like this isn't safer or better, and I want people to feel like they can talk about it with each other and try to like mobilize people who are vaccinated to be able to approach this subject from a place, because it's the conversation around it is punitive and hateful.
Yeah.
And I mean, the best case scenario for me most of the time is that people are sympathetic to me, but think that I'm some weird like outlier case, like some like one in a million kind
Right,
of
which is
like,
not the case.
no, it's not, it's really not the case at all. Like, and I just want people to understand that I think if the way to make things change would just be to somehow put enough pressure on the city government to get them to repeal the mandate. But honestly, I think it's unrealistic because de Blasio has no reason to please the public at this
That's a
point.
fact.
Like, even if the public wanted the mandate repealed, which I don't think they do, I think most
Right.
people in New York think at least most people who hold political sway
Right.
are like, this is dope. because because it's allowed businesses to reopen.
That's right.
It's like it, and again, I don't think it's allowed businesses to reopen safely.
Right.
Like, I know people think breakthrough cases are rare. I mean, at least like observably, they're not. Like
I mean,
most people,
I would imagine New York, they're not rare. You know, they're
but
fairly rare outside of major cities. From my understanding, I could be wrong, but
I mean, we
uh,
all just live on top of each other. Okay, I also think like, just to be clear, like in a scientific setting
mm,
where the environment is controlled, vaccinated people obviously are much less likely to contract and get sick with COVID-19.
right.
But like in the world I'm in, like it's obviously not a laboratory setting. Like
That's right.
most people I know are going into like 150 to 500 capacity venues with their masks off and sweating on each other and just being like, duh. Like, uh-oh.
Oh man,
and then they leave the venue and come hang out with me, and then I have to go quarantine because I'm like,
Jesus.
oh, really? Going to a venue without your mask on gave you COVID? Surprise,
Shocking.
surprise.
Can't imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine why. So it's like
Who saw that
people
coming.
people are so like, we've had such this like transformative period of being like, I believe the science, I believe the data. But it's like, data is not data collected in a scientific study is not applicable to every situation. Something that was true in like studies A, B, and C is not going to be true for you at like, the fucking knitting factory. Like, like it's just not how it works. Yeah,
I
all other things being equal, you're less
I think
likely
at
to
this
get
point,
it.
I think at this point, people are so tired of being inconvenienced. Um,
I think that's true.
because there's I mean I consider myself a pretty selfish person when it comes to my time and such, but I think in general, and I don't know that this is just happening here in this country, but I think in general human beings are pretty selfish, and I think we're pretty hyper selfish in this country.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we've been inconvenienced for a time, and now we are going along with anything that can help us be less inconvenienced. So if that means a mandate, you know what? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that means that, I got my shot and I can go back and see my friends and my shows and I cannot
Yeah.
wear a mask and we can
Yeah.
sweat and we can party.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's totally, I feel like that's totally the attitude for a lot of people. And to be honest, like in June, I was like basically in that like before the Delta variant, I was basically
Sure,
in that category myself
sure.
where like I was back and I was doing gigs, everything was
Yeah.
cool, like my life was coming back. And people would be like, oh, you don't want to wear your mask on stage? And I'd be like, you people are in a death cult. You want this to I can be like, you just want this to never end. And so like,
100%.
then the Delta variant happened and the mandate happened, then I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Like,
We're
so, but
all
I
the
mean,
same, man. We all have that quality, but we're also smart. We can stop and if we want to and listen to what other people are going through and take it into consideration and change our thinking. It's a choice.
I think it is a choice. And I feel like that is a lot of the attitude where people are just like Googling stuff I say to try and find an argument that I'm wrong because like they really want to believe that they have done the right thing.
Right.
And like I've also had conversations with people where they're like, I did my part. Like I got the vaccine. I did my part. Like that's the way they think about it. And it's just like, okay, like,
Period.
yeah,
End of problem.
it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, the issue is resolved. Like I did, and people see it as like something they did for the greater good. They're like,
Yeah.
I did my part in saving humanity by going to get this vaccine. and anyone who holds an opinion outside of that is like anti-human.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, okay, good for you. I can't work. I can't go inside anywhere. There's no end in sight. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how does this world include me and all the
Right.
people who are in my situation? Like,
Right.
what does that have to do with, you know?
Well, again, like if we believe in community, if we believe in each other, if we want to actually help each other get through this, then we have to take into consideration the people who aren't as fortunate as we are. I consider myself extraordinarily fortunate in every way throughout
Yeah.
this whole thing. I've been staying with my family. I was on unemployment. I have money in the bank, not a lot, but I have some. I can move back to New York or wherever, and I'm okay for a little bit. I just made a record. Like, so much good fortune. I'm healthy. I was able to
Yeah.
get the shot. So why am I talking to you? I because I am in this position.
Yeah.
Period. That's it.
And
That doesn't mean
the only reason I'm talking about it is because I'm in a better position than a lot of people I know,
there you go.
because they're in the exact same position, but they understand, in my experience, they understand realistically and accurately that if they do become vocal about it, they're gonna get canceled essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like, I not to say that I've been like canceled, but like I know there are people who think less of me because they think that I am making a big deal out of something that isn't a big deal, or that I'm like, they're just like, you should just go get vaccinated. Like, and it's like, you lose the respect of your peers. Like, it's extremely psychologically taxing after, especially when you have a rare-ish health condition that, like, people don't understand what that's like psychologically. Like,
No.
you get gaslit by tons of doctors about your own body before you,
Right.
usually before you find someone who's like I couldn't find doctors who would test me
Yep.
for an issue. Like, and just to be clear, like, it wasn't like I look perfectly healthy and cool. Like, at the time when I was really sick, like, I was covered in like full body rashes. I was like
Mm.
30 pounds underweight. I had no feeling in the left side of my body. Like, I was fucked up. And like, I went to three major hospitals in New York, and they were just like, yeah, you're fine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we're not going to test you. You're fine. Like, you should see a psychiatrist. Like, I was,
Yep. I've had friends
I,
and family go through that same situation.
it's like, obviously I wasn't fine. Like, I was like visibly dying.
Yeah.
Like, and to go through that sort of gaslighting again, which is what happens when people are like, you're exaggerating. Like, you
100%.
you just get re-triggered with that. And then also, I've had this happen, and it's a totally valid fear for people in this industry. It's like, you know, I don't conceal shit, but I also don't have to talk about how I have a chronic illness all the time.
That's right.
But some people do conceal it, and that's fine. Like, because you're not putting other people at risk
Right.
usually when you have your own chronic illness. Like, it's not like it's contagious.
Right.
So, like, because I've been so vocal about this, I've also lost work, not because I'm unvaccinated, but because
Sure.
people don't want to work with somebody who has a health condition. Because
Right.
if they're given the choice between hiring someone with a health condition who they believe to be perfectly healthy, they're going to choose the healthy person, all other things
Sure.
being equal, because we have a very physically taxing job,
Right.
which is, by the way, is why we have the Americans with Disabilities Act. However, those series of laws, I'm pretty sure, only apply if you have 30 or more employees. And since
Oh, wow.
pretty much everyone who works in entertainment works on a contract basis, you're a
100%.
contractor.
Yep.
Those laws don't apply. So anybody can discriminate against you based on your disability. Like, and even if they weren't allowed to, what touring musician has money for a lawyer to sue for a
100%.
disability case?
100%.
In a best case scenario, you have an entertainment lawyer.
Yeah. Right.
And even that's like, it's hard to find the money for that,
Yeah.
So it's like, people don't want to, people who are in my exact position, accept that they aren't able to, like, they don't have a safety net. I have a
Right.
safety net. They don't have
Right.
they don't have a backup, right?
Right.
So they can't talk about it.
That's right.
They have to get a fake vaccine card and commit a fucking felony to stay alive, which is fucked up. Like,
Really fucked up.
like, it's
Yeah.
really fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing that I wanted to ask you is, how can people help you directly? Financially?
Yeah. I mean, so you know what? If you're feeling generous and you want to give me money, I'm not going to say no, but also I would say with the caveat that, like, I'm not the person who needs the most. I should stop doing this. Like, I feel like this is something like this is like compulsive at this point, because like I am in a really bad situation, but in my mind I'm always like, but I don't have it the worst, so nobody should help me. Like, which is terrible. But like, yeah, I mean, I'll leave my Venmo handle or whatever if people want. Like, I almost always like just take what I need to live, and like usually end up giving money to people who need it more. But which also, yeah, maybe that's not psychologically healthy. I don't know. It's impossible to tell in our culture. But if you're interested in what I do artistically, I also have like a thing that's basically a Patreon, except it's not made by venture capitalists. And I can leave you the link for that too. But it's like, I'm putting like like music educational content on there, like basically the same things I work on with like my adult students.
That's cool.
And like other stuff that I do, like, unreleased exclusive stuff that I do, like with my music on this platform called Ampled, which is essentially Patreon, but just for musicians, and it's a co-op. Like, they only have one employee, which is pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah. It's
I'm
very
gonna
nice.
look into this. I'm gonna sign up for yours as well.
Thank you, Andrew.
I saw what you put, and it's www.ampled, ampled.com/artist/Stimmerman. And
Yes.
I'll write that under the video.
Yeah. And there's, I honestly, I don't really like just like taking money. That's the thing. I like working. Like, maybe
I know, I love working.
I'm possibly addicted to working, but like, what can I do? I can't do it. Like, I'm not allowed to do it. Even if I wanted to take the risk, I'm not allowed to do it. Like,
I have a very strong belief that, if people help you now, and I'm gonna pull your Venmo from you, and I'll put that under the video too, and you can do with it as you please. But I know that you could use the money right now, and you're in a nearly impossible situation. I would say impossible situation. So I know that when your life isn't in an impossible situation, I know that you help people as well. So I don't think anybody is going to feel any hesitation to help you as well.
I hope. I don't know. I really don't know. I think money is immoral. Like, the concept of it. But
I mean, we can have a separate conversation about that.
I am starting to get, yeah. I've had that conversation with people too, who are like, which I also find to be infuriating, because it's like a kind of like fake leftist position. But like, there have definitely been times where I've been discussing my situation online. And just for anyone who's unfamiliar with me, like, I'm never asking for money online, but I am telling people like we live in a society where you have to work to be alive. And I happen to be in a society that is jointly telling me you have to work to be alive. Also, you're legally barred from working.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's an impossible situation. It's an impossible
It's an
situation.
impossible
Like,
situation.
and people will be like, well, I like the mandate, but I don't think capitalism should exist. It's just like, okay, like, like, okay.
Keep going. Keep going.
Like, I really don't see how you can be like against, like, you think like you're able to categorize many things as state violence, but not this. Like, if you think lack of medical care is state violence, which it is,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't think that taking the people who are the most vulnerable medical population during a pandemic and telling them, fuck you, you don't have healthcare. Also, fuck you, you can't work. Also, like, fuck you, like, just go commit a felony, then we'll put you in prison. Like,
100%.
like, how is that not? How do you not categorize how can you categorize that in your mind as public health? That's psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and people will, people have also said to me, like, well, it is public health because it's just limiting who can and cannot be in a crowded area. It's like, New York is a crowded area. You can't get around that. You can't get around that. And also, like, it's so fucking like weird and classist to like categorize entertainment and dining as a user experience. It's like, people work in those places. That's where people go there to work. The guy who's cleaning up your plates is at work. Like, I don't understand how people are like, no, it's just, entertainment is just for the user. So it's good that unvaccinated people can't go. It's like, okay, go a little further.
Don't you think this is really all about getting tourism back into New York?
I do. I mean, I think it's all about,
About business, businesses staying open, and it's not about people. It's not about the people of New York.
No, it's not. And I think there's a lot of like basically propaganda trying to frame it that way. I try really hard not to be like, well, they are just like they are doing this. You know what I mean? Like, because
trust me when I say I've been holding myself back too as well.
But I mean, whatever. What I literally have pretty much nothing to lose like by saying this at this point, I feel like, because whatever. But like, yeah, I mean, you go to other, like, I was in LA recently. Like, LA takes COVID really seriously, and like individual businesses, for instance, have a vaccine mandate. If you call up an individual business and you're like, I medically can't be vaccinated, but I want to come in, they'll be like, cool, come on in. We'll make an exception. Wear your mask. You can't do that in, like, it's possible to take it seriously and
not be so extreme.
This situation is different because pretty much across the board, every venue I've talked to has been like, well, we want to let you in, but we can't sustain a $5,000 fine.
Right.
And I just want people to understand why you should be looking at that from the city's perspective. Like, because I really do think, like, people who work in city government are very detail oriented and intelligent. Like, they know there are people who medically can't get vaccinated who work in these industries. And I'm not saying they're doing the mandate to be malicious. I don't believe that, but I think they have consider it to be, maybe like, I think the mandate allows the economy to reopen and it allows tourism to come back. And I think there's I think a mask mandate probably would be more effective and it would definitely be more inclusive, but you can't reopen you can't reopen theaters and gigantic restaurants and venues and museums realistically and enforce a mask mandate. And I mean, you can't drink in a bar with a mask on. Right. So like, in order for these businesses to come back, there's got to be something else. So I think objectively, it is just about reopening the economy. Right. Which I mean, in a purely ideologically wonderful world, I would be against that. But like, yeah, of course, I don't want the city's economy to
Right.
continue to tank.
Right.
But then also, like, you can't just ignore that the city is collecting $1,000 to $5,000 at a time from businesses also. Like, that's not good for those businesses. That's good for
That's not helping your community. That's not helping your business. No, not at
it's
all.
good for the city to
That's it.
collect that
Period.
money.
Yep.
Like,
End of story.
I love the city of New York. I just want to make that
I
clear. But
think that
like,
I think that you can love something or someone and still see it for or them for what it is or that they are. I mean, 100%.
and I want to underscore, like, I think, again, I do think a reason a large portion of the population is not getting vaccinated is not because they think, you know, a microchip is being implanted in their
Right.
veins. It's more complex, right? Like, I think for a lot of people, especially people who worked in really like degrading jobs throughout the pandemic, it's like, you know, before the pandemic, I had no housing security, I had no job security, I had no food security. I was given no leeway during the pandemic. Now I'm being told that the city is not going to even attempt to solve any of my initial problems, right? Like, and I feel this way about my medical situation. It's like,
Right.
okay, so now I have to go into anaphylactic shock and theoretically re-trigger this illness that I've spent personally like $50,000 in 3 years of my life trying to fix so that the economy can reopen. Like,
Hmm.
and when the economy reopens, it's not going to reopen at my benefit.
No.
Like, it's not reopening so that I can get better healthcare, better housing
No.
security. The
Mm-mm.
opposite. It's like going to further marginalize me. But it's reopening for the people for whom it was working before the
That's
pandemic.
correct.
And telling people who are already the most marginalized, like, you just have to do what we say.
Hmm.
And like,
And
and
that
you're
goes back to your point where this is absolutely a classist issue.
like, yeah, you know,
I mean,
like,
all of these things are true. You know, it's there's nothing to argue about. It's all of those things are true.
I think they are true. Like, I mean, I think they're true. And again, it's like, I'm not saying like that that's a one-to-one, right?
Sure.
Like if you are disenfranchised by our society, you shouldn't get vaccinated. Like, that's, I don't think that's true, just to be clear. Like,
Right.
but I also don't think a punitive system that says like, either you do this or you're fired,
Right.
or like, either you do this or we're going to fine, like, okay, let me give you an example. You work 7 days a week. You can't miss a day of work. You have no health care. You want to ask a doctor about your situation. The city says to your employer, either that employee gets vaccinated or you have to fire them, or I'm going to fine you $5,000.
Right.
That's the situation, instead of the city saying you have to give your employee health insurance or else we're going to
100%.
fire, or else we're going to fine you
Right.
$5,000.
Right.
You can see how that's not about public health. It's about
100%.
it's about a fine. Like,
That's right.
tell the employer, we can to get both doses, and they need time off to recover. That all has to be paid for, and you need to pay for them to go see a doctor so they can ask questions about this. If they have a chronic health condition and they haven't had, this is the other thing too, people think when you have a chronic health condition, you like have you're like a card carrying sick person who's like, but like, I could have found out that I was sick 5 years ago and have no paperwork about it. Like,
Right.
you need money to go see a doctor to
That's right.
get a record of your medical exemption.
That's right.
So if a person says like, I'm going to go into anaphylactic shock if I get this vaccine. They need money for a doctor's appointment to get the proof of that. The mandate doesn't say you have to give people the access to a doctor who can do blood work. It doesn't say that.
That's
It
right.
just says fire this person.
Right.
Just fire them. Fuck them.
Right.
Fuck whatever's going on in their life. Just fuck them. Get out.
Unfortunate.
Like,
And that's unfortunately what creates you know, a society of distrust. You know, it's actually all valid. I mean, on either side, like if you want to talk politics too, like either side, people have extreme distrust on every side, from every corner of the government for good reason.
yeah.
For good reason. Because
Oh yeah.
it's always, well, you're on your own. We're not going to give you anything to help you,
Yeah.
and we're actually going to make it worse, but we're going to tell you that it's all your fault.
Yeah, dude. Like I have a relative who like she is vaccinated. She did get the vaccine, right? But like she essentially doesn't trust it, and like kind of got it resentfully. And the reason is she had a chronic health condition for years that was like pretty bad. Like she
Yeah.
was losing the use of her legs. She was really
Oof.
overweight. Like nothing was helping her. And doctors were telling her like, okay, we're going to put you on this medication, that medication, whatever. It was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then eventually she basically just like took to YouTube and looked it up and realized like, oh, if I change XYZ in my diet, I could get better. She did. Lost 60 pounds, reversed the health condition, totally healthy
Unbelievable.
now, goes to like dance classes and shit. And
Right
like,
on.
and that doesn't mean that like, obviously that doesn't mean that vaccines don't work.
Right.
But like when you have when that is the most usual case, which it is, when you have a health condition and you go to a doctor and they're like, well, there's nothing we can do for you except give you this medication that's possibly going to make you even sicker, and we're going to call it healthcare. Like,
Right.
of course people are going to distrust the medical
Of
industry.
course.
Like, why wouldn't they? And that's the case across, like, it's a healthcare issue. People don't trust the government and they don't trust doctors because we've totally fucking failed in this country to provide healthcare to people. Like, and it's, I think, like, even people who are vaccinated that I speak with who have had a health problem, a chronic health problem, or know somebody who has a chronic health problem, they're like, for the most part, they're like pretty much like right there with me.
Yeah.
At least a serious health problem. We've also had people who have like, technically they have a diagnosis, but they're like, it hasn't wrecked their life. So they're just like, I don't know, just get over it. I got over it. Like, which is also like a very American attitude. It's like,
that's right.
I pulled myself up by my bootstraps,
100%.
so everybody else can. Like,
that's right.
But like, yeah, I mean, we literally don't have adequate healthcare for people, and
right.
and the government like doesn't help people. So
No.
like, so when you have the government telling people undergo this medical procedure, no, you can't have any information about it. No, we can't give you adequate time off. No, none of that. You just go get it. Like,
that's right.
Of course people are going to get angry. Like, but it's not like framing that as like, if you get angry about it, you don't believe in science. Like, you have to understand the position from people who have undergone like medical trauma at the
that's
hands
right.
of America's healthcare system. Like I've dealt with doctors who literally don't believe in testing patients many times over. Like, who's covered in lesions and rashes and can't move the left half of their body, and you're a doctor and you look at them and say like, you're fine. Do we categorize that as being anti-science? Fuck no, of course not. We're just like, yeah, whatever, that person can just go again, like, yeah, whatever. Like, the system doesn't work for you, so just go fuck yourself. Like, just go either. And again, like, I was able to like live at home for a long time, save a lot of money. I borrowed money from my parents. Like I was able to pay for very expensive medical
Right.
treatments. That's obvious. If you don't have money in this country and you have a problem like I had, you're expected to just go crawl into a hole and die.
100%.
Seriously, like
No, no,
that's
100%.
or start a GoFundMe and beg people for
Isn't that
money. It's
wild?
like
Yeah, that's the
it's
new
fucking
way of paying for
degrading.
your bills. Yeah.
It's fucking degrading. Like it's and yeah, I mean, it's not about science. It's not about science is good or science is bad. Like
Right.
it has nothing to do with that. Like
That's right.
also, like, yeah, I have an issue with that nomenclature, like the science. Like,
Science is also ever changing.
yeah, the idea that like the idea that we have conclusive final information about a new so like one of the this isn't the thing that prevents me from getting vaccinated necessarily, although I have the if so I do have chronic Lyme disease, and like I know a lot of people who have chronic Lyme disease, that's their main diagnosis, and they also
Right.
can't get vaccinated. That's not the case for me. I have a comorbid condition that I think
Hmm.
is the real, according to my doctor at least, is the real issue. But like, so you know, like the CDC doesn't acknowledge that chronic Lyme disease is a real diagnosis, which is like
Right.
categorically false. It's like obviously
Yeah.
false.
I have friends
And
and
chronic
family
Lyme
who it's
disease,
destroyed their lives.
yeah, it totally wrecks people's lives
Hmm.
because you can't, because the CDC doesn't acknowledge it, you can't use any insurance. Like doctors can't take insurance to treat
Right.
you because insurance companies base their policies off of CDC guidelines,
Right.
which is already like not the way the CDC is supposed to be used, but that's just the way that it is. So
Hmm.
like, so you can, so you have to have money to get it treated, or you just have to be like severely disabled for the rest of your life. And the thing is like that it has nothing to do with the observable evidence. Like
Right.
Lyme disease has been an epidemic in this country since the late 70s. The late 70s. The year right now is 2021. I don't know if people like the amount, like the
Over 40
idea
years. Yeah.
when you tell chronically sick people like, oh, we have conclusive data. It's like, okay, well, there's been over 40 years of data on this, and like doctors still won't test people for it. They won't try. Like you can't, a doctor is not allowed to try to treat this.
Right.
Like they are like, you can't expect people to like, it's not even about expecting victims of that system to get on board with it. It's like other people should be aware of that.
That's
Like
right.
the thing, by the way, the thing that I have that prevents me from getting vaccinated
Hmm.
is called mast cell activation syndrome. It's a disease of the mast cells, which is a type of white blood cell.
Hmm.
And I think my understanding is that there's a genetic marker for it, and that it gets triggered if you have consistent exposure to something that the mast cells would fight. So for instance, if you live in a home with black mold for like 10
Uh-huh.
years, or if, I think in my case, if you have a severe bacterial infection, which is what Lyme disease is bacterial infection and like parasites. I had
Hmm.
that for many years untreated, which I
Mm.
think triggered this other disease. And the thing that mast cell activation syndrome does, like people have it to varying degrees. I know people are Googling this already and being like, you can get the vaccine.
I was just gonna say, hey,
Like,
give me a
but
second. I'm gonna look. I think you're all right.
yeah.
It says.
But like people who have I like, there are also people in my support groups for that disease who got it and are fine. There are
Right.
people who won't get it because their doctor tells them not to get it, and there are people who did get it.
So you said, and there are some people that
eh,
did get it, and
Yeah, and they've been having adverse reactions for months, like a total relapse of their worst possible symptoms. Like,
yikes.
and a lot, like, and I also like, I know people don't want to hear this, but like, those people can't get through to VAERS, the system where you report adverse reactions to the vaccine. Like, they can't get through. It's not getting
For
reported.
real?
Like, yeah, dude. I know someone who got okay, no, you're just listening. I thought it froze again. I know somebody who had a severe adverse reaction because of this disease. And I forget exactly what happened, but she like went to the hospital because of the adverse reaction. And then at the hospital, they gave her a spinal tap, which they botched. And now she can't fucking walk anymore, like possibly forever. Like, and it's not, again, I'm not trying to say like, if you take the vaccine, then you can't walk, but like, it's
Right.
just an example of how gruesomely the medical system can fail. It's like she had an undiagnosed asymptomatic chronic disease. She didn't know she had it. She thought she was perfectly healthy.
Wow.
She went in, she got the vaccine. She had this insane reaction to it, was not able to report it to VAERS. And then the doctor, like after the reaction, diagnosed her with a chronic sickness. Then she went to the hospital to try and get a treatment for the adverse reaction. They gave her a spinal tap for some reason. They botched the spinal tap, and now she can't walk. And it's not like this is some weird 1 in 1 fucking billion outlier case. This shit is just not getting reported. Like, and if you don't have like $1 billion, you can't pursue justice. Like, you can't sue. You can't, like, you just have to accept your fucking fate. Like, but anyway, also there are people who took it and are fine, who have mast cell.
Sure.
But like in my case, like the way that my mast cell disease is that I have anaphylactic reactions to like basically no trigger. So like, and it's across multiple organ systems. So like I have really bad heart palpitations. I have encephalitis. I have these weird rashes that I get. I have trouble breathing. Like, you know what anaphylaxis is. Like,
right.
You've probably seen someone have an anaphylactic reaction in the movies. Like, I'm able to control it, but like, yeah, it's like I probably would have a severe, like I'm having like I go into anaphylaxis if it gets too hot outside. You know what I mean? So like the mRNA vaccines have a much higher chance of causing allergic reaction.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's like, it's just a mess. Like, so that's, I mean, the original reason I'm bringing this up is that like mast cell activation syndrome wasn't quote unquote discovered until the 90s. And it wasn't accepted as a legitimate diagnosis until 2016. So like people, like, I just think people have to understand, like when they say, I believe the science to somebody who's been, like, there are people in these support groups who are 60, 70 years old who have had mast cell activation syndrome literally their whole lives.
Wow.
And we're told until 2016, it's psychological. Like, so when
That's sick.
when you say to people like that, like, I believe the science, it's so fucking insulting. It's so insulting because it's just like, okay, like the science, like
no, listen, I really appreciate you saying that because, you know, there have been multiple times that out of my mouth where I say it's just science. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
And it's easy to say that when you haven't experienced these horrible things and that have changed your life forever.
I've literally gone to urgent care with before I was diagnosed. By the way, like I started having issues with this like in 2016.
Damn.
So, and I wasn't diagnosed with mast cell until like a year ago.
Okay.
An anaphylactic reaction, right? Like can't breathe. Like I can't, you know, and I would go to like urgent care with like heart palpitations, inability to breathe, covered in rashes, like whole face swollen. Like you've seen what people look like when they have like a peanut allergy and they eat a peanut, like that, having that. And I've gone to urgent care and they've been like, you should see a psychiatrist because you have anxiety.
With your face blown up and like rash all over your body?
Yes. Like, and not like some back at like regular urgent care, like regular hospital, because you have a medical record, right? That says like, oh, like you're not you're not really allergic to anything. And yeah, you might have this chronic condition, but it was treated. Like essentially like you're cured. You're
Wow.
cured. So whatever's going on with you is
Right.
psychosomatic.
Yeah. Listen, the medical field did what they could do, and I think
Yeah.
it's time to look into psychology.
Yeah, pretty much.
Good for us. We did great. Move on.
Yeah. And you have those people who have been experiencing that, in my case, for 5 years, but in some cases for a magnitude higher than that. Like to tell those people, like, oh, you should just get this brand new vaccine that, like, because everybody says you should. Like, I also go to,
Wow.
like, I know people, it's not like, honestly, fuck even the concept of it being brand new. Doesn't matter if it's brand new. Like it's a medical treatment. Like people who have been gaslit that much by the medical industry, like I know people who don't want to take antibiotics. I also know people who are permanently disabled from adverse reactions to
Right.
antibiotics.
Right.
Like yes, I think vaccines are safe. I think antibiotics are safe. But I'm not going to deny the fact that there's a subset of the population that is permanently disabled from
That's
taking
right.
antibiotics that are safe for most people. Like
Yep.
that shit
There's
happens
there
all
is
the time.
there's always going to be a percentage of human beings that have adverse effects to anything that they say is safe. Anything.
But it is good to mandate those people out of the workforce, though. Just you know, let's be real. It's the science. Those people should just go fuck themselves.
Hey, listen, it's not our fault. We had the science right, and I'm sorry that should happen, but we're also not going to let you work.
Yeah, we're not going to let you work, and we're not going to expand social programs for you.
Yeah, so, I hope you have the money to find a country that's going to care for you because we can't. Sorry.
Yeah, I've thought about moving during this thing, but it's like it's so expensive to
It's
move.
so expensive to
It's
move.
like somehow less expensive to just wait around. like,
Is that where we're at? Oh my
yeah,
God,
it's
Jesus. A
yeah,
friend of a friend of mine from the UK, she lived here for years. She's a violinist, a classical violinist, and she moved back to the UK a month before the pandemic hit. And it's
yeah.
just like, oh man, like super down. And then a few months later, she's like, I'm at the doctor's office and I had a bunch of stuff done and they didn't hand me a bill. So I asked for the bill and they said, "Oh, you're fine. You're all set." Why didn't I come back years ago?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's extremely mysterious.
Americans are all about like, don't you tax us, don't you dare tax us,
Yeah,
and you go to the UK and they're like, yeah, they tax us a lot, but I get to go to the doctor whenever I want.
yeah. People who, I mean, I'm sure there's more of an ideological. I don't mean to like diminish the hypothetically well thought out philosophy of not wanting to be taxed, but like if you have a serious illness that you like can't like need consistent treatment for, like I would have more money if I was getting healthcare where 50% of my income was taxed. Like, and I think anyone who's in medical debt can relate to
Hmm.
that, right? It's like
Right.
you in the long run. And by the way, like everybody is one. I'm not like it's not some like rare genetic mutation.
Hmm.
Like if a tick or a spider bites you, you're that close to being in my situation.
That's
Where
right.
no doctors believe you, and you need to have like $100,000
That's right.
to
Yeah.
get treatment and to not work and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah. I have a cousin for years and years and years. She's older than I am. Years was told, you know, it's mental, it's mental, it's mental.
yeah,
Like had no like fat on her body. Like I mean, looked like she was barely alive.
yeah,
Oh yeah, it's you go to a therapist, go to therapy. It's your mental, mental, mental. Guess what? Finally, years and years and years. Yeah, she had Lyme disease the whole time.
yeah. Oh yeah. but yeah, but the CDC doesn't believe it's a chronic. It's not that they don't believe. I don't know why. I don't know why. There's an infinite amount of data that chronic Lyme disease exists. So
Right.
I'm not really sure what that's about. I'm not going to speculate on it, but like,
Sure.
yeah, that's the case for tens of thousands of people in this country. Like,
Hmm.
you just like, you just waste away, and doctors tell you you're totally fine, and then you have to like be able to get hip to this weird network of doctors that
Yeah,
can't take insurance that specialize in this, and like,
that's right.
but that's the thing, like, I was on death's door. I received a pretty like like I took like a course of antibiotics, a course of antimalarials, and like I went from being like about to die to being a relatively healthy person. Now, maintaining that is significantly more expensive, um, because I have to pay to go see a doctor who doesn't
Right.
take insurance, which is like thousands of dollars. Like, that's the expense, and I have to like pay for labs to be done, blood work to be taken. Like, and I still have a lot of like serious physical issues, but like between being like non-functional, like again, like I didn't have use of the left half of my body.
Right.
Like, I'm a musician.
Yeah. Yep. I remember
Like,
that. I remember when that was going down. Yep.
yeah, dude, like to get from that to like this version was like the answer was to take some antibiotics and antimalarials, and like it was a solvable problem.
Yep.
It was an easily, it's not a curable disease like
Right.
100%, but that, like, if one doctor had believed me, I asked for antibiotics because I didn't know that much about Lyme disease, but like I had the rash.
Right.
I went to the ER. They were like, "Oh yeah, that's Lyme disease." They gave me, I think, a month of antibiotics, and after the month of antibiotics, I was 10,000 times worse. And I went back to City MD, and I was like, "I need." Well, City MD isn't where I initially went. I went to the emergency room, but I
Right.
remember going to a City MD and being like, "I need more antibiotics," and their response was, "You're cured. You took the antibiotics and you're cured." And that was like the response from hospital to hospital to hospital. And when I finally found a doctor who would test me, I was like, yeah, I had a shitload of Lyme disease that was very,
Jesus.
very findable in my blood, as were
So
many
it's
other types.
literally just a blood test.
Yeah, so the testing is extremely flawed. And I mean, there's experts who can explain it better than I can. It has to do with the fact that the spirochete, the bacteria,
Hmm.
can form this thing called biofilm, which is essentially you can think of it kind of like a spider web, but it's made out of polysaccharides.
Uh-huh.
It's like rock hard sugar
Right.
web, and it's like they build that shit inside your body, and then they can like be disguised within it.
I see.
So once it gets to that point, it's not detectable
Wow.
necessarily. So the testing is like people do get false negatives on the
Right.
tests a lot, which I think contributes to a lot of the misunderstanding about it. But like I happen to in my body, and
Hmm.
uh, okay, you're there. It happened to be
There you go.
extremely detectable in my body, and like, yeah, I was like, I did a short course of antibiotics, short course of antimalarials. Now, I mean, it's expensive to maintain it, but like, I would have, I literally lost years of my life because doctors refused to just give me an extension on antibiotics. I didn't want new medication. Like, I just wanted more antibiotics because I obviously wasn't cured. And their response was like, no, we can't give that to you. No, we can't test you. We refuse to test you to find out if you still have it because you are cured. You are cured. And anything else is in your head.
That's our
Like,
healthcare system.
yeah, dude. And as I'm sure you like, you have other, because it's much more common in rural areas, obviously.
Somebody was telling me recently, I can't remember who it was, a few months ago, that they were sick for a long time and they finally did some research and thought like, I wonder if this is Lyme. And finally, apparently, like there aren't that many specialized Lyme doctors, but
Yeah.
they finally found someone, and they said, okay, well, tell me, what you're feeling. Without even the test, the doctor said, you have Lyme 100%.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of doctors don't even bother with the,
I
like
mean,
a
did
lot
the
of,
test afterwards, but said like, oh yeah, I know you have Lyme.
yeah, there are a lot of like Lyme doctors who don't even bother with using testing as diagnostic criteria, because like when they hear like, oh, I've been sick for years with symptoms XYZ, they're like, okay, let's just give you these antibiotics and
Exactly.
anti-malarials, and like the shit, like for the most part. I mean, you also have to make like lifestyle changes, which is
I
like
bet.
really hard for a lot of people. Like
You
I'm
got you
itch.
got to eat you got to eat night meat, you know?
You gotta get on. I've been thinking like, okay, you tell me if you think this is a cringe idea, but like I don't have a lot of ways to make money right now, and
Yeah,
I'm already awake at 2 a.m. eating meat.
clearly.
So
Yeah.
like I've been thinking about just starting a mukbang channel where I just eat meat
A
live in the night.
mukbang?
Are you familiar with mukbang?
Yo, see, this goes to show you I don't spend enough time on the internet like you do. No. What is
Yeah.
mukbang?
It's like videos. I'm probably saying it wrong. It's a Korean word. It's not. It's sounds gross when you say it, like mukbang. But like, um, but yeah, I mean, it's basically people eating huge quantities of food on video.
I mean, listen,
Uh,
you could be like the next hit in Korea, Like this could be your thing.
dude, you look, get in the shed with mukbang. You go on YouTube,
Uh,
you look at
uh,
those videos. Those people have like 17 million subscribers, and it's just like a you know
yo,
a woman
listen,
quietly eating some noodles.
if it if in 2 years you're known as New York Mukbang instead of Stimmerman or Shredderell
Yeah,
or Gradowitz, then I
yeah.
think we'll all be okay with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll do
Listen,
it.
I'm telling you, like this may be the moment where you choose success over letting the man take you down. This is it.
Fuck the man. I'm eating night meat.
Night meat, bring it.
Night meat,
And
baby.
the difference, I know, obviously I didn't know what this was, but I'm guessing the difference is for you is a lot of close-up shots.
Yeah, probably so. Like a lot of like
There it
right
is.
here.
There it is.
Yeah. This is
That's
this is
that's the
never
shred that I know.
it's never not going to be funny to me. Like
That's clear too.
it's like
It'd be great if you're going to do the mukbang thing is you have a camera that's a little further out like now, but then you're going to have that second camera that's right there. It
yeah,
shows you chewing.
it's a multi-camera.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to
You
go
know,
in, go all the way in.
I hadn't even considered it, honestly. I hadn't even considered doing that. That's a great idea.
I got you.
People love it. People love for night meat. They also love like this angle. It's also a funny
It
one for
just gives
people.
you it just gives you a better window into the mouth. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah. Yeah. POV. You are a piece of salami.
Oh, I want this to happen. I really, if there's anything I can do.
All right, I tell you what, if people listen to this and enough people are if they've made it to this part of the interview, and you just leave it in the comments. Like, I want a night meat channel that's super close-ups of your mouth eating meat in the night for like 30 minutes at a time. I will do it. I will
I,
do it.
I just want you to know that what you just said is going to be the intro of the whole thing. Definitely, like, just to get people.
You gotta get him in the door. We're talking humanity. We're talking government. We're talking medicine. We're talking social isolation. We got big issues. But the headliner, I'm gonna eat meat in close up.
Night meat.
Night meat, baby.
Yeah. Come on, man.
There's that laugh.
You know, we're musicians, but you know, there's an entertainment aspect, and I think we just found it. That's the one.
You got to have more in your life than just playing music.
God damn, I hope so. Yeah.
You ever heard of salted meat?
Yeah.
Yo, dog. You hip to this salted meat?
You like the salted meat?
Yeah.
You like close-ups? Well, have I got something for you? Little Stimmerman in the background. I mean, that sounds like a perfect evening.
Light some candles. I could have a whole line of scented candles that just smell like cured meat and raw beef.
I'm telling you right now, Alabama is signed up.
Squid carpaccio scented candle. Salted, thin sliced seafood. Salted candle. Salted candle.
Salted candle. I'm going to tell you right now, just to be clear, I'm laughing and also had like a reaction internally that I had to kind of like push back down.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if people know this about me, but I'm like a severe emetophobe. Like I am.
What is an emetophobe?
Scared. I'm like clinically afraid of vomit. I'm afraid of vomiting. I'm afraid of seeing other people vomit. Like it's a really bad phobia.
I mean, I don't know anybody that like looks forward to that, but a phobia.
Yeah, I'm very phobic about it, and like I'm getting a grip on it as an adult. But like I sometimes I wonder like if that is part of why I'm obsessed with like binge eating.
Wow.
Like binge eating in close up, like it's like a confrontation of that fear.
And also there's also a mastery in that, right? Because you don't see any binge eaters like vomiting. They're not showing you that part.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's part of like
it's like true control.
Control over the gut. I think that's part of why I'm so I think that's a big part of the like emetophobia is that it's like a little bit of it is fear of vomit, but it's also fear of like loss of control.
Sure.
Because there's nothing that's more out of your control than having to puke.
Yo.
Like, it's like a primal example of not having control.
I couldn't remember the last time I threw up, and then recently I got sick, like a virus or something, and I got tested and it was negative, but I just woke up at like 3 a.m. and I just had to throw up. It was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Matt, that's the worst. That's the worst feeling.
It's a really bad feeling, yeah. It happened to me at least once in the last year. But now that I know that that's like, because I always thought like, it's like you said, like nobody likes throwing up. And so I always thought that I was having a normal reaction to it, but I get like, I'm like, it makes you thinking about it makes me like panic.
Oh, I'm sorry. We can move on.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But like now, once I like realize that now when I do have to throw up, I'm like, yes, like confront the challenge. Like, let's go. Let's fucking go. Like,
I'm going
to overcome it. Like,
man, I heard the Rocky theme song in my head when we were talking about that. That's great.
It's just me like hugging the toilet.
Wait, how did Night Meat start?
I don't know.
Oh.
I really don't know. Like, I mean, I think we have established that it's like part of my DNA to like binge eat and close up for some reason.
Uh-huh.
It's just like it's just an element in myself.
Yeah, I mean, you've even got those moments in Ava's show.
Yeah. There's multiple Ava's talk show that are centered around food. There's Ava's talk show ketchup edition, butter edition, butter edition 2. Like,
oh god, there's
many
classics.
Goldfish edition. There's many.
What? I haven't seen that.
That one's not on the air. I don't think Butter Edition is up there either. Butter Edition is
Don't play with my
atrocious.
emotions. Yeah.
I'll get them up there.
Come on.
Subscribe to the Realisms channel, everybody, and you'll get all the Eva's talk show content your heart could ever desire.
Yes, please.
But I feel like when I was working more as an engineer and like also doing gigs, like I would just be coming home at 2 a.m. all the time. And I think I just thought it was funny because like I have to eat like super low glycemic. So I don't necessarily think it's good to eat a ton of meat, but like when you're hungry and you can't eat like carbohydrates, like you have to eat. People have to eat. Like, you end up eating a lot of meat. Like, and I would just like come home at like 2:33 in the morning and like just have a moment of self-awareness, just like hunched over the refrigerator, just like eating salami and like just like prosciutto and just like eat and like stuff like that. And
it sounds great.
Like, because I'm on the internet so much, I was just like, this is what people want. People would like this, and it's been true for the most part. And it's been true.
I'm asking you about it. I was so excited to ask about night meat.
People love it. Like somebody who subscribed to me recently on Instagram, because there was no night meat content for pretty much the whole pandemic. And then like a few months ago, I restarted it. And somebody who followed me during that time was like, I don't get it. What is night meat? And I was like, oh, it's meat at night. and it just never occurred to me that somebody like wouldn't get it. I was just like, I was like, it's just me in the middle of the night eating meat, a large quantity
of meat. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I said that, they were like, oh, okay. And he was like, I don't know why I thought there was going to be more to it. I was like, no, it's just a perfectly good concept all on its own.
It's everything you need right there.
Yeah.
No need for more. Oh man, thank you, night meat.
God bless.
God bless.
Praise Hashem.
The great night meat God.
God gave us meat, you know?
Yeah. Man, I was a vegetarian for years when I was younger, and
I was a vegan for years also.
Were you really? I actually was terrible at it. I was so unhealthy. And then
me too.
And I don't necessarily love eating meat, but when I eat meat, I just like my body's like, oh yeah, okay, now we feel good.
Yeah, exactly. I have no I know there's a lot of like ex-vegans that like really denigrate it, and like I think there probably is a healthy way to do it, but I don't, like, everybody's different. I don't think my body could tolerate it. Like I think it would have been different too. I mean, I don't know, because I have experimented with like one of the things with mast cell diseases is like you become extremely sensitive to histamine. So
what is histamine?
So like an antihistamine.
Antihistamine, yep.
You've heard of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's what you take when you have allergies.
Right.
So histamine, as above, so below, right? Like there are antihistamines because there are histamines.
Right.
And I'm not going to say this in a very detailed way because I'm not really sure I have the right. But I mean, it's a naturally occurring chemical, and it's white blood cells that respond to it, because if there's too much histamine in your body, I don't know. I don't fucking know, but like we all are aware of it. It's
science.
It's a naturally occurring chemical that, I believe the science, so just look up, just go look up the science. You go Google it. It's life or death for me, but you just go Google it once, and I'm sure you'll get whatever information you need about it. This is the thing too, like that just drives me insane, is like people have this real like, oh, you're wearing a Ramones t-shirt, name 3 songs kind of attitude about it.
Oh man, the whole thing.
where it's like, okay, like you're really like, the thing that really bugs me about it is that the people who confront me about this are always people who have really forward facing radical politics, but then
Uh,
like they're just super fucking hollow, because it's like they do believe in being extremely punitive, and like it's also this thing where it's like, yeah, like I have a chronic illness, right? Like I have a disability. I have a neurological disability. Like my brain is swollen. I have like and
damn.
like I have neurological problems, right? Like I have tremors, and like I have like serious cognitive issues from having a disability. But people who like otherwise position themselves as being like, I believe in an equitable society, are like, oh really? You have a disability? Well, you better have all the information that the most specialized doctor in that field should have. And you need to you need to have all the information that a lawyer would have, and all this
Hmm.
shit. Like totally advocate for yourself. I will not help you until you present me with the information.
Incredible.
It's just like, dude, like fucking relax. Like I'm
Yeah.
sick. Like I
Yeah.
like like I'm literally fucking sick. Like just chill out. Like
Can you imagine finding somebody like going up to somebody in a wheelchair and being like, "Yo, like, do you really need that wheelchair? I mean, have you
people
really
will,
looked into this? Have you looked like? I think you. I mean, you should be able to walk, right? Right?
yeah,
Right?
but the thing is, like, people will actually do that. Like they, like I know somebody also who has like another like very serious neurological condition, and like sometimes they need a wheelchair and sometimes they don't, and people literally have that attitude with them where they're like, you can walk, like you don't need that. And it's just like, and
Yo.
New York City, as we know, is a deeply inaccessible city. It's like the
Yeah.
least ADA compliant city in the country, probably. Like if you can't walk, like it's not you. It's very hard to get around
Yeah.
in New York, and most businesses are not ADA compliant, even though they technically really should
Uh-huh.
be. But it, like people will be like, "Well, you can walk. Like just walk." It's like, what, why are you like making a big deal if you can walk? It's like, well, I can't walk all the time. Like
It's funny.
it's like,
No
yeah,
compassion.
people, yeah. And the thing is, like, if you want to be a villain, I respect it. Like if people just word, if people just seriously, like if you wore it on your sleeve, if you came up to me and
100%.
you were like, look, I understand people have disabilities, but it's inconvenient for me that you exist.
Yeah, be
So I
honest
don't
with
give a
it.
shit. I don't give a shit about what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
going through. And I want to make money and be happy and not think about you.
Right.
I would respect that position. But people come to me with this horse shit, which is like, it's like, I really care, but like I just don't. I think that maybe you could be doing this, or it's this way, or like people who have that attitude have actually like tried to start a conversation with me that my rhetoric is dangerous because I'm going to convince people to not get vaccinated. And I'm just like,
Why as
I
human beings do
can't
we
understand
always
that.
see everything as black and white? Like it's either or. There's
Yeah.
no like there's nobody in between. It's just this or this, and this is good and this means you're bad. That's it.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and like I really think, I mean, that's easier. I think seeing the world that way is much
Say that
easier.
again. You
And
froze for just a second.
I oh, I said I think seeing the world that way is easier, and I don't think people make that choice intellectually. Like I don't think they say like I'm going to choose this easier way to navigate the world because it's more simple. But I don't know, I've been kind of like in the shed lately with like just thinking about like the way that we understand difficult, nuanced situations.
Right.
And I really do think that like it's it is it's hard to understand the way that that kind of thinking fails until you're the victim of it, you know,
100%.
and until you've been like backed into a corner where like side A doesn't believe in your rights and side B also doesn't believe in your rights, and you're in here, like it's just, you have no reason to imagine the middle ground. And like I'm not above that in any way. There's like, you know, pretty much along every axis except the axis that I exist in, I have those failures of understanding those points of view. Like I do have class privilege. I do have like a racial privilege. I have all sorts of privileges that totally put the horsey blinders on me. And
Sure.
like you know, we all try, but like, you know, you can't just be a totally enlightened person. And I think like having failed on those axes so many times, like I understand, but like if somebody like, I don't know, maybe it would be different if I was 18. I definitely like made shittier mistakes when I was 18. But like if somebody as an adult comes to me and says like, hey, like you exist in a world where you don't have to think about problems, you know, M through Z, you know,
Mhm.
and I do, and here's my perspective. Like you should listen, right? Like you
Yeah.
believe that person. I think a lot of people, another thing that like is tough is like, you know, I think a lot of people don't have the emotional capacity right now to think through other people's trauma,
I would
which
agree with
I
that.
also totally respect. Like everybody is traumatized, and we also, I feel like we went through a year where we were forced to investigate trauma outside of our own in large part, whether through it was, you know, through things that were unearthed by the pandemic or like the racial justice movement. For a lot of
Hmm.
people, I feel like it shouldn't be that way, but a lot of people during, you know, summer 2020 were like, oh, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
I can tell you too from outside of the city that, you know, people in a fully white community were
yeah.
seeing it on television every day, and it brought out some nasty stuff that I would hear. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on.
I think we've just been at a time, and especially because everybody's been so online.
Hmm.
I get it. Like people are mentally exhausted and can't deal with a detailed investigation of somebody else's very nuanced traumatic situation. Like
Yeah,
I
I
understand
understand
that.
that as well, but also, you know, it's um I don't know, we're also talking about people that you know that should know
Oh,
better.
that's a different thing
Yeah.
completely. Like I like people, I'm sure some of them are gonna watch this and be like, "Is she talking about me?" Like, and yeah, probably. Like, I mean, if you, if you, I just like,
If you
I'm
have that
like,
thought in your mind, then yes.
yeah, very well, it very well could be like, and maybe like, yeah, maybe I'm being immature by like speaking vague, but like, I also don't have the capacity to interact with that shit on an interpersonal day-to-day basis.
No.
Cause that, I mean, that stuff just stays in my mind. Like I wake up thinking about like rights as a human being. Like this person who I thought was my colleague thinks like, oh, I should just like disappear. And they think that they have the correct moral position, that I should basically just like slink into the shadows and fucking die. Like
Yikes. Wow.
they think that, but like, yeah, I mean, that's a totally different thing. I mean, to know me personally and to hold that opinion, even that I can understand. But to tell it to me, like people do that. And I think that's true along any axis like that. Like
Sure.
I certainly have like You know, people encounter that all the time. Like, if you don't have like a, you know, if you don't have any fucking financial wiggle room in your life, people will, you know, people come up to you and say like, oh, you should just work harder. Why don't you
Mm-hmm.
just do a better job?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you know, there's still people who still think in that way where it's like, no, there's no, America's not a racist place. We had a black president. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the look. Like
Clean
it's
slate,
done.
baby.
Post racial society.
Here we are.
There's
Yeah.
I need no other information, which is like, you know, I'm not trying to equate that to my situation, but I just think that that is the way people think. If they don't like,
No, I mean
even when they have close friendships, they can still dissect. They literally, they not dissect, they bisect. They can bisect the
bisect.
world, you know,
Right.
nothing else. Like,
Right.
because they don't have to they don't have to experience reality that way.
Right.
They like, that's what I mean by intellectualizing it. Like, you see piece of evidence A and piece of evidence B, and that is enough for you to come up with conclusion C. Like, you don't have to deal every day with the minutia of
That's right.
being dehumanized.
That's right.
Which is a different experience than looking at data. It just is. Like, there's, you know, data is fallible, you know, and it's also not representative of the human experience. Like,
No, not fully, never.
no one has ever collected any data about me, to my knowledge, that would count me among the legions. Like, I've never participated in a survey
Right.
about anything that I think is a yeah, I mean, other people like also don't realize that, like, when you have a medical condition and you see doctors that don't take insurance, you're probably not being counted in whatever generalized
It's a
information
good
there
point.
is.
That's a very good point. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah,
And those are the only doctors you can go to at the moment because those are the ones that can help you.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, I would always, for people who are like Googling shit and unsure about it, like, so for instance, I had one person who told me like they were like basically pointing to this one mast cell disease organization, and like they went looking on the internet for proof that people with mast, like, they heard me talking, they were like, I'm gonna fact check this. So they looked up mast cell disease, they found whatever this organization was about mast cell diseases, and they went looking for information about the vaccine, and they found something that to them indicated that people with mast cell can get the vaccine. And so I was like, initially my response to that was just like, look, I have a doctor, I go to a support group that's full of people in my position who also go to doctors. Like, no matter what that generalized data is, it's not inclusive of me.
Right.
And for a while I was like, you know, maybe it should tell you something, that the first time you're hearing about this disease, you only know one person with it and they're an outlier to the generalized data. Maybe that should tell you something about the data collection. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but that was my first thought, which I think is logically sound. But then I also went on the website and I saw that what this person was looking at was not like, it wasn't like a statement by like a cohort of scientists. It was literally like a Q&A with one doctor as a practice 30 patients who have a spectrum of mast cell diseases, not just my specific disease. So it was like,
Right.
and it was like, the question was like, should mast cell disease patients take the vaccine? And the answer was, our patients are tolerating the vaccine. It doesn't explain what tolerating means. It doesn't explain any, like, it's like, okay, the sample size was 30 people, and of those 30 people, they had at least 3 varieties of diseases relating to
Right.
these blood cells. So it's like, it's not really significant data. People have also shown me, they're like, but look at this study, and the study will have a sample size of like 2. It's like, man, like the world just doesn't, you can't find reliable data when you have a disease that was only considered legally a valid diagnosis 5 years ago. Like
Right.
a sample size of 10 is not a good sample size. Sample size of 2 is not a good sample size. Like there are like 50 people in the support group I go to,
I just
and
want to
most
know,
of them can't get vaccinated. Like,
right.
what about that?
I just want to know what's
size?
the intention? I mean, is the intention to just discredit you and tell you you're wrong and that you should get it?
I've asked people that, because like I'm always willing, maybe I'm like I think I am like compulsively ready to please people, but I'm always like, what is your intention in telling me this? Like what were you hoping for? And mostly what people will say is basically like they want me to understand that I am exaggerating when I say I'm speaking for other people, and that I should understand that the rhetoric that the vaccine is not good for everybody is dangerous because there are already too many unvaccinated people. People genuinely believe that they're doing the right thing by telling me that. And I feel bad for them because that's stupid. But like, it's also like, you know, what am I supposed to say to that? Like, what am I like, the truth is, like, the truth of my reality is that other people, I know a lot of other people who can't get vaccinated, they feel like it's dangerous for themselves to speak about
Right.
it. And they want me to continue speaking about it because I don't feel like it's dangerous for me.
Right.
Because and like, you can't like prove that to people without outing those other people.
Yeah.
And like, I just don't, like, somebody has to talk about it, like, because telling people you're not allowed to work and you're not allowed to receive social programs from the government either, and you're also not entitled to health care or anything, like, that's not okay. Like, that's not an
No.
okay way for society to be. Like,
No. That's not a healthy society.
no. But somehow people think that me like posting about it on Instagram is going to like influence a policy change where like it's just going to be the Wild West and nobody's without this mandate, nobody's going to get vaccinated. It's like the city was like more than 60% vaccinated before the mandate.
That's right.
And now it's like, man, people are going to get it. Like, eventually people are going to get it. Like,
Right.
if workplaces want to mandate it, let them mandate it, but they
Right.
shouldn't be subject to a government fine.
I like what you said, what LA is doing. I like that. That seems responsible.
Well, look, I mean, it's not even what LA is doing. That's what they're not doing. It's like individual businesses have mandates. Okay, like that's always been the case, right? Like a company can, and historically they have told people, you need to get the flu shot every year to work here.
Right.
Right. If you go to a doctor and the doctor says that flu shot is going to make you stop breathing and we're going to have to shoot adrenaline into your heart to revive you, the workplace most likely will be like, okay, so everyone has to get a flu shot except you.
Right.
That works out just
simple.
Fine, assuming you have access to a doctor, which not everybody does.
Right.
But everybody has to get a flu shot every year, and if they don't, we're going to fine the business $5,000, no exceptions. You know what the real fucked up part is? The mandate has the verbiage in it that there are people who can't get the vaccine for medical reasons, but it makes no exception. There's no criteria on how to.
But it does mention that.
Yep, it says like everybody who can be vaccinated. You know, I forget the exact verbiage, but it's mentioned in the mandate. But yeah, there's no real guidelines.
Wouldn't it be so simple? Sorry, go ahead.
The city did end up publishing guidelines for both patrons and employees on how to use the ADA, like in conjunction with the mandate.
Uh-huh.
But those guidelines, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the ADA, but basically like, you know, the term reasonable accommodation, that's like the term that people use, right? The business has to decide if they can provide a reasonable accommodation to somebody with a disability.
Okay.
If that disability is going to actively put other people in danger and there's no way to accommodate it, then, you know, obviously, if it can't be accommodated, it can't be accommodated, right?
Right.
But like the onus is on whatever the business is to legally, you have to provide
Right.
a reasonable accommodation. So the city did outline that in a subsequent guideline. However, their position was that if you're indoors in a crowded area, there's no reasonable accommodation for an unvaccinated person.
Period.
Yeah, exactly. Like a negative test, for instance, or a mask is not a valid, reasonable accommodation to be indoors. And I also just want to point out to people that like I have done many concerts, including festival-sized indoor concerts, and I've flown on airplanes and been in international airports during this thing. I don't have COVID, and it's not like because I'm some weird 1 in a million case. It's because I have a very serious, like full face N95 mask that straps on in 2 plate. Like masks work.
Yep.
They work. I'm not saying that they're a replacement for vaccines, but
Right.
like they do work. We agree that they work,
Yep.
right? Like if we don't agree that they work, then maybe we need to readdress some things. But we do like,
I'm fairly certain. I would say I would feel more comfortable in a closed space with you and a mask. And also, I mean, comfort as far as mine not giving it to you as well,
yeah. Oh yeah.
being a vaccinated. I feel much more comfortable with that than the shit show that I see now where nobody's wearing a mask because they feel like, oh, it's over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's over. I'm probably not gonna die if I get it, so it's over. But also, like, yeah, way more people die who are unvaccinated than vaccinated. But like, it's not like there are no COVID deaths from vaccinated people either. Like,
Right.
just you have to accept that. Like, it's not like you're not bulletproof. Also, the efficacy wears off on a lot of them. Like, I don't think people realize what that means for someone in my position. It's like, you know, if you asked me 5 years ago, would you rather go into anaphylactic shock and then get adrenaline injected into you twice? Like that's option A. Or you have to stop being a musician and just sit in your house forever. I would have answered in a heartbeat, no pun intended. Give me the adrenaline. But because the vaccines they don't work for your whole life, right?
Right.
The efficacy wears off. You need booster shots too. It's like, okay,
Right.
it's not just going into anaphylaxis and getting shot with adrenaline once. It's not twice. It's indefinitely, like
That's right.
every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not a humane request.
No.
Like, that's not even possible for me.
Right.
Like I don't know if people understand like what it really means, like to have an anaphylactic reaction with no stimulus.
Right.
Like to just be sitting around in your house and then all of a sudden your heart is beating so hard and uneven that it gives you a migraine and you can't breathe and your face swells up and nothing's happening. Like living like that is horrific. COVID is not frightening to me along that axis. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I don't want to get COVID.
Right.
And I understand that's the other thing too, is like, I feel like what people don't get is that like when you live with a chronic illness, like I confront my mortality every day. People are like, aren't you scared of getting a deadly illness? I'm like, I have a deadly illness. Like, I have a fucking deadly illness. Like, do you not understand what it's like to me?
Right.
But the other thing too is like, there's a lot of research right now because a current hypothesis is that what people have been calling long COVID is a mast cell disease. People are
Interesting.
like, you're not, you don't like understand. People have accused me of not understanding that COVID is serious also. I'm like, dude, I get it. Like, but I can't, you don't understand what it's like living with a chronic illness. Like I'm going to be sick for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like it's here. I'm
Right.
like this.
Right.
I'm one medical misstep away from being dead at a hospital no matter what. And one of those missteps is going into an anaphylactic shock that I can't be revived from, which
Right.
is why I'm not getting the vaccine.
Right.
Like if I get COVID, if I get long COVID, honestly, the symptoms of long COVID, it's all already shit that I have. It's all shit that I already have. Like sensory issues, like chronic shortness of breath, chronic fatigue, aches and pains, loss of feeling in your limbs. Like I have all that shit. It's already like this. Like I've done all I can do to fix it. If it gets worse, it's gonna get worse. Like
Right.
And that's, I'm not saying that because I want people to pity me.
Right.
I'm saying that because like that's the way chronically ill people live. You live accepting that you're having on your best day, you're not having the physical experience that healthy people are entitled to. It's just the way it is. Like,
Right.
and it makes me less of like, I've had pneumonia like 20 times. Like, it's just how it is. Like, I'm not scared of pneumonia.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna try not to get COVID, but if I get it, that's just where the cards fucking fell. I'm doing everything I can. Like
everything. Yep.
you know.
Wow, man.
You know.
I
I don't know if we're gonna have time to talk about it, but I'm also, I take all of those drugs that people think that only like rednecks and Nazis take, but I don't take them for COVID.
What?
I take
which ones?
like
All the
ivermectin.
crazy shit. Oh, really?
Yeah.
For what?
You know why? Because it's a normal human drug that you take for parasites.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's
See,
not.
this is the shit. Like it gets blown up into something and people don't understand it and it becomes a butt of a joke, but it's something that you're actually taking for your health.
That shit, that was really when I started to get like angry because as you know, I was on the internet trying to be like patient and explain things to people. But when that shit started, when it was like ivermectin, like is a horse medication that only an idiot redneck would take, I'm like, okay, so I'm not allowed to work. I'm not entitled to social programs. I have to live at a categorically worse experience than the average person. And also now I'm a horse because you don't know what medicine is. Like
wow.
that shit was so degrading.
Man.
Like to see everybody thinking that way. And same thing with hydroxychloroquine. Like I take it because like I don't take it for COVID related reasons.
Right.
But like I have to take it sometimes. And like
what do you take that one for? Because I'm not familiar with it.
It has something to, again, like I'm not totally sure. Like it has something to do with some kind of chronic pain issue from the Lyme disease. It's like almost like a gout kind of pain. Like it's like but it's not gout.
Right.
I don't take it. And like it's not good for you. It's got really bad side effects, the hydroxychloroquine. I'm not trying to get on here and be like hydroxychloroquine is great, but like it is a normal medication that people take. Like it's not like you pop the pill and your hat turns red and you have a swastika tattoo. Like it's just medicine. Like it's like any other prescription medicine. It's got its uses, it's got its pitfalls. Like
right.
And like, Yeah,
Yo,
people are
wow.
just fucking ignorant. I don't know. People are just ignorant about this shit. Like, even like, I'm not trying to say like you're ignorant, but like you didn't know that ivermectin was a human medication
I
because
actually
there's,
didn't know anything about it. Somebody said,
yeah,
made a joke with it, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I missed the whole internet thing with that.
yeah.
But they
Well, the
made the
thing is
joke and they were
like,
like, well, you just look online. I'm like, nah, I got better things to
yeah,
do.
just look
But
online.
yeah,
Also, like all those reports that were circulating about how all these people were dying from taking the horse formula were debunked. Like it was a fake story. And the only publication that printed a retraction was, I think, Rolling Stone.
you're kidding me.
Which is insane. But yeah, I mean, that was the issue is like there are studies being, so first of all, there are studies being done with ivermectin to see if it inhibits some element of
Uh-huh.
COVID. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I like am extremely
Sure.
educated on the subject, but because those studies were being done, people were like, "Oh, I'm going to take ivermectin just in case I get COVID," and people were unable to get it. I guess because of supply issues or because they weren't able to get a
Okay.
prescription. And so they make ivermectin. There's a human formula, and then there's
Okay.
an animal formula. It's an anti-parasite drug.
Okay.
That's the on-label use. So
Right.
people were buying the horse formula and
I
taking it.
see.
It's an extremely potent drug. I only take it once a week. Like it's like, you have this little tiny pill that you take
Yeah,
once a
yeah.
week, and it's like the most powerful one you have.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, people were just like taking the horse formula of it, which I imagine would make people sick. But it's
Yeah.
like people just made this leap in their mind, like, oh, like people are taking the horse formula of ivermectin and getting sick, so they must be idiots who are taking a horse medication. But it's like, we give antibiotics to dogs,
Yep.
but you don't call antibiotics dog medication, and you don't point at people who take antibiotics and say you're an idiot and a redneck, and
That's right.
you take dog medicine, and you're an animal,
Right.
and go fuck yourself.
Right. But that's where we are in this, and that's where we are in this culture, man. We just see something on the internet and then it just goes crazy and everybody's talking about it, and nobody has actually done any research at all.
No, and
And
nobody,
nobody
and
thinks about how that affects people who are actually in a situation where they may need something. And that actually is the thing that they need. And that's actually the thing that helps them stay alive or stay healthy or whatever it is.
oh yeah, if there is something I would want other people to think about when they think about the internet and stuff like that, it's like, if you repost or create content that demonizes a subset of people, like, no matter what, even if you believe in your heart that that subset of people they are your political enemies, like, you have to think about what the other side of that is. And what I mean by that is like, it's not enough to just like stop doing it, because like in my case, like there was a barrage of violent and hideously mean-spirited memes about the unvaccinated,
Hmm.
how it's good if these people die. We shouldn't let them into hospitals because it's their choice, and they're stupid and they're anti-science, and if they die, that's good. Reasonable people posted stuff like this. Like, and I feel like since I've been more vocal, I've seen less of it. I haven't seen it go away completely, but I've certainly seen
Right.
less of it. And like, but those people who were posting that shit before, it's also not like they went out of their way to be like, um, there's a subsection of people who are never going to be able to get this vaccine, and we have to make sure that they're safe. Nothing
100%.
like that. Like from anybody who posted any of that shit. And like, and I just feel like even if you realize, like, making aggressive content that's seen by hundreds of people, because most people I know have a large following, right?
Yep.
Their shit is seen by hundreds of people every day.
Yep.
Like, how do you expect somebody in my position to feel safe around you if your front-facing opinion has been, I hope you fucking die?
100%.
You're an idiot. You chose this life. And my wish is that no doctor ever listens to you again and you die on the street. That was the level of the rhetoric, like, like 6 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, and seriously, like, you have to wonder about these people who see like musicians or like celebrities or whatever that aren't vaccinated, who get sick and go to the hospital. People will literally go on the internet and be like, good, that's good, I hope he dies. Or like, honestly, even people who are like, first of all, I think like quote unquote anti-vaxxers are a very vocal minority, right? I
agree.
don't think that I think the majority of unvaccinated people are at some sort of intersection of like, they don't have access to a doctor, they're confused, they don't have, availability and access are not the same thing, right?
That's right.
Like, they don't have access to the vaccine, they don't have access to a doctor, they
Right.
don't, for whatever, or they're just not sure yet, or they have
Right.
unresolved medical issues. It's like,
Right.
they would get it, but it's not the right time,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Like, most people are not anti-vax, but even like people who are quote unquote anti-vaxxers, like, I'm like shocked when I see people I know who will like post these headlines that are like, man who led anti-vax protest dies of COVID. And they're like, ha ha ha, serves him right. I'm like, dude, like, that's, I can't imagine that. Like, I can't imagine feeling that way. Where
Listen,
I'm
man,
looking at like a human being
yeah, no,
dying
but
and
that's the
being like,
problem is
good.
we don't see people who disagree with us, who we maybe feel as we understand as being, disagreeing with us completely and being on the other side of a political spectrum or whatever it is. We don't see people as human beings. We
No,
just
we
see
don't.
them. We just see them as bad people, the enemy, stupid.
Oh yeah.
And that's the
Horses.
problem. Horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You are a
Yeah.
horse.
I'm really glad I missed that one.
Yeah, that one was extremely degrading.
But I think it's important. Listen, like, no matter like how many people get to this point in the video, like, I think it's really important that people, and hopefully, and I assume it would be people that know you too, that see what I just saw when you went through explaining all of that, because it it's important that people in my position who haven't gone through anything that you've gone through see that people that we care about, even just know, even if we don't know, but we've gotten this far because we care,
Yeah.
are going through hell, and that we need to be responsible as other human beings about what we say and how we say it and how we
Yeah.
frame things. And we need to be more thoughtful about other human beings, even if we don't know them. We have no idea what
Oh
somebody's
yeah.
going through.
You never have any idea what people are going through. I would say I'm too far on the other end of the spectrum where people will like wrong me over and over again. I'll be like, well, you never really know what someone's going through. So,
I
but like,
understand.
but yeah, I mean, people are also like, there are plenty of people I know who are thoughtful people, but that's also like weirdly part of the problem where they're able to intellectualize some of this stuff in such a way where it makes sense to them on a moral level. Like, for instance, that thing where it's like, oh, anti-vaxxer dies of COVID. Like, it's good that we celebrate his death because through his rhetoric and organizing, he was going to kill other people. And like, it allows them to dehumanize that person.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's another problem with like the way people conceive of unvaccinated people. It's like people who are unvaccinated are at a higher risk. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just willing to concede that. I actively want people to understand that. But like, perfectly intelligent people have this attitude that the unvaccinated are the like spreaders of disease. Like we are the people creating a pandemic, right? That was the whole thing. The pandemic of the unvaccinated,
Right.
which is just like, if you think about it that way, yeah, it's really easy to demonize a whole subset of people. As a friend of mine said, he was like, he said, I have a master's in anthropology, so I know othering when I see it, but I don't have a PhD in anthropology, so I don't know how to stop it. It's funny. It's a funny
That's
thing
great.
to say.
Yo, I have to cut it off there, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
because I haven't eaten yet, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, no, I probably should do something else too, but that's having such you being so nice and letting me just
No,
talk and
man,
talk and talk and talk.
this was the point. Like, you know, I just think it's crucial because I've also made mistakes, you know, not posting thankfully about happy about people's deaths, but I've made some mistakes
Yeah,
about, you know, posting and having
yeah,
discussions with people and then, you know, seeing your situation and then digging, seeing other people going what they're going through. And I think it's really important that we hear about this and hear about this from somebody who's intelligent and who's suffering. And nobody should be suffering during this. There's no reason
yeah,
for it. We should all be, you know, I don't work in the government. Only so many people can, you
yeah,
know, change a mandate, but what we can do is at least speak with each other, like you said, and try
yeah,
to understand that this is serious for some people, really serious for many.
yeah. Well, thank you, Andrew.
Oh man, I'm so
Yeah,
happy to see you
yeah.
um and thank you for this. And beyond like, you know, the video, like, you know, anytime you want to chat, give a
Oh,
call.
I will.
Um, it's getting colder, but I should be down in New York real soon for a visit.
Yeah, you're already frozen up there.
Yo, I know, but we, you know, I would love to see it and
Yeah, please
maybe we
hit
can
me when
get
you're back.
39 other people.
And I can do my tight five in the park. My my winter coat on.
Yo, I'm in.
What's the deal with being socially isolated?
I'm ready. And you know
Yeah,
my laugh. It'll
yeah.
make you feel great. I'm there
I
for you.
I had 40 people I know with the loudest laughs.
Oh
Get,
man.
gather them up and
That's
make
what
me
we
feel
all
better.
need, right?
Yeah, seriously.
Uh so real quick,
Yeah,
ampled.com/artist/Stimmerman.
yeah, that's the best way to support.
Also, your records, your Stimmerman records, people should
Yeah,
go buy them. And it's
st-
not a lot, but it all helps.
it all helps. Stimmerman.bandcamp.com. Just go get them.
100%. Go
Yeah,
get them.
yeah.
Yeah, go
I
get
think
them.
I think it has value. Art.
It's necessary for me. It's necessary for
Yeah,
you. It's necessary for a lot of people. Yeah, oh, it's another
yeah.
discussion. I was about to go off, but um, and then I'll get your Venmo, and people should hit it up. That's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna type it in the chat.
Let's do it.
It's the @ symbol, followed by my first name, which is EVA, followed by an underscore, followed by my last name, which is LAWITTS.
Lawitts at Eva_Lawitts. That's the one.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Well,
All right, my
listen,
dude.
so fucking happy to see you.
Yeah,
More
man.
than I can
Thank you.
express. And if you need anything, reach out and keep up the
It's
fight.
been
And
very cathartic for me to talk
I'm
to
glad.
you about this.
I'm glad. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I wish I had better things to say, but you know, I just hope that no matter what happens with everything, that we can get through this mess sooner than later and get you back to
Yeah.
work, because the world needs you working and playing music, man. I'm telling you right now.
The world needs everybody the world has.
And that means we have to all take care of each other.
Yeah. you know. All right, man. I won't keep you. Thank you.
Yo, it's all good. I'm so happy to see you, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Yeah, dude. All right. Thank you.
All right, Eva.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.